Welcome in Jasmine, Cassandra, D. Williams, Martulsa Girl, Second Creek Trading Co. Tiffany, hello. Sorry, not threaded chapter. Becca Sewing Table. Welcome in, welcome in. My name is Leo with Cheap Girl Fabrics, and today we're talking about probably mostly about shipping, as we tend to do on a lot of these chats, because shipping changes are coming and we're all not really freaking out or anything, but we're all kind of in limbo, wondering what are we supposed to do? What are you doing? What am I going to do? I'm thinking about doing this. I'm considering doing that. I'm not really sure. And so we're all kind of in the same boat. So I have a little bit of information. It's not the information that we want to hear, but I will tell you what I know for sure, what I have found out a little bit from Whatnot, and what I am planning on doing. I know, right? Just another thing to keep it harder. I don't really, I'm sure that's not the purpose, was to make it harder, but we also have to realize that this is an app that's being built, like they built it from scratch. And so I don't know the exact purpose of why they're making the changes, but I'm sure that it's not specifically to just cause us issues, like they're trying to make money, and they have, they have large contracts with other companies. So I know they must have had some kind of special contract with the Postal Service that allowed them to have that special pricing for flat rate. We don't know why they decided to end the flat rate uh, option, but we don't know if it was like a financial decision or if the Postal Service just said, look, you guys are just like, if you think about a large flat rate box and you walk in off the street and you buy and you pay for postage on a large flat rate box, it's going to be like $28 or something. So we're getting like almost a $20 discount on every single flat rate box. And just me alone, I'm not even a big seller, but I mean, I do this full time. And so I'm sending out a lot of packages, and a lot of them are flat rate boxes. Most of them are flat rate padded. And so they gave Whatnot this huge discount. And so maybe they had no idea that Whatnot was going to grow as much as it did. And they're like, we can't afford to fill up our trucks with all of your packages and take this much of a hit. I don't know. I don't know why they did, but there has to be some kind of reason, probably a financial reason. So I don't know. And the way that it affects me and the way that affects a lot of the fabric sellers is pretty tough. But fabric sellers alone are not all of the sellers on Whatnot. We're not even the biggest category on Whatnot. We're not even close to the biggest category on Whatnot. So even though it's probably disproportionately affecting fabric sellers, and I feel like it may be even disproportionately affecting maybe clothing sellers, I can tell you this: it's not affecting card sellers because they have small packages. It's actually helping card sellers because probably card sellers, I don't go to card shows, but I'm guessing cards are small. It probably takes a hell of a lot of cards to make over 5 pounds. So they're catering to the people who are making them the most money, right? So card sellers are happy because they're like, oh, our people are great because they can buy pretty much as many cards as they want to for $7.20 shipping. It takes a lot of cards to get over 5 pounds, right? So I don't know about clothing sellers. Maybe I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking with clothing sellers, but they had to have been looking at how it's going to affect the people who make the most money for them. And fabric people were probably not on their radar. So we just happen to be one of the categories that flat rate shipping happened to work the best for us, for most of us. And since 95+% of my shipping came from flat rate shipping, this is affecting me a lot. I'm not saying it's affecting me like in my pocketbook. I have to figure out how to make sure that doesn't happen as much as I can. It's just affecting my settings and my routine and my flow that I have set up and all that. But we also have to remember that again, this is an app that's building itself from scratch. And it's in its infancy still. There's going to be a lot of changes. And so we could complain about the changes all we want to, and it's probably not going to help anything. But we also have to know that, especially when you're dealing with something that is with technology, technology changes so fast all the time, faster than we do. There's bound to be changes. Sometimes there's lots of little changes. Whatnot updates their app all the time. There's always little changes that are happening, but sometimes there's a big change that happens, and the shipping is a big change. And I think my biggest issue with the change is not the fact that there is change. It's just that they don't seem to be very prepared with the information that we need. People like me, a fabric seller, they don't seem to be very prepared with the information to answer all of the questions that I need answered to figure out how to implement the new changes. Like if they had all the answers to my questions, I could make a new system and I could have it ready to go into place on day one. I could be like, okay, this is going to happen and this is going to happen, and here's these other changes, and I need to change this, this, and this, and I can keep this the same, and I need to change that, and then right. Exactly. So Mina, and I know it's simple. It's just go ground, right? I understand that, but it's not the logistics of what package to put my shipping in. It's not as simple as that, because those changes are simple to make, right? Stop using flat rate and go to ground. Okay. Keep your packages 1 to 5 pounds. Okay. All right. Great. 80% of my customers are going to be happy with these changes because 80+% of my customers don't buy more than 5 pounds worth of items in a single show. And so those people are going to be really happy because they used to pay $9.21 for a 1 to 5 pound package that went in a flat rate. Now they're going to pay $7.20 for a 1 to 5 pound package that goes in a padded mailer or a poly mailer that I pay for. Okay, that's a few extra cents. No big deal. Problem solved, right? It sounds very simple. But here's where I have an issue. I don't really have an issue. Here is why the changes are affecting me so much, right? Because the way that I can still go parcel posts. Yeah, a few cents can add up, but it's not even that. Here's what it is. It's that I feel like the way that I was using flat rate, I was incentivizing my larger buyers, my frequent buyers, and my big buyers to buy more product because they would understand that no matter how much they bought, they would only pay $9.21 for shipping, right? Because I had max shipping at $9.21. I used the flat rate to offer that incentive to my large buyers. Now, my large buyers were not a lot of people, but those few large buyers represented a large percentage of my sales, right? And I've explained this before, but so if you've heard this analogy before, just kind of hang on. But let's say in a typical show, I'd have 25 packages. Maybe 5 of those packages were a medium or large flat rate box, maybe 5. The rest of them were padded mailers or Ground Advantage less than a pound. Like 2 or 3 of them might be less than a pound. Most of them, 18 to 20 of them, were probably 1 to 5 pound packages that fit in a padded flat rate envelope. None of those orders will be affected by this change, except for I just have to use different mailers. No big deal. But those 3 to 5 people that make up the big orders every show, they're not a lot of people, but they represent a lot of money. Okay. So, and it's not that I don't appreciate any of my customers. I appreciate every single order. But if you look at the numbers in a percentage wise, like let's say your show is $1,000, right? Those 3 to 5 large orders might make up $300 of that $1,000 order. And so if those 3 to 5 orders limited themselves to 5 pounds, 1 to 5 pounds, their order goes from say $80 or $100 or $120 down to $60. I'm just doing estimates, right? So what might happen with the change is if I don't find a way to incentivize those people to buy as much as they want to buy without having to worry about paying more shipping. If I don't figure out a way to do that, again, with the new changes, if those 3 to 5 people still order, but they limit their orders to being the 1 to 5 pound packages, I might still have 25 orders, but instead of making $1,000 that show, I might make $700 that show or $800 that show. And on top of that, I had to buy 25 poly mailers or padded mailers. Might not sound like a lot, but that might be $6, whatever. I have to buy tape, my own tape, because I was using free tape. So over the course of a show, I might be decreasing my amount of sales by $200 or $300 or $400, and I might have the same number of buyers, and I haven't sold quite the same amount of purchase, of items. But now, how do I make up for those sales? How do I make up for those sales now? I have to have more shows. I'm already having 8 to 10 shows a week. So do I have to have another show? That's where the issue is. The issue is not, oh my gosh, how am I going to figure out shipping? It's so hard. It's not that. It's the whole mentality and the psychology of the buying. It's that we use flat rate to encourage our buyers to not put a limit on, how much they buy based on shipping. Okay. When you have to pay extra shipping for every single piece, you're a lot more discerning on like, do I really love that piece enough to pay for it and add another $1 or $2 shipping to my package? I don't know. I don't really like that one. Okay. because I don't want to really go over my shipping max. So I'm just going to I'm good right here. I'm just going to limit myself. I don't want my customers to limit themselves based on shipping. And right now they don't. They only limit themselves on what they want, whether they like it, what the price is, and all that other stuff. I don't want to add another thing for them to decide not to buy extra stuff. Do you have the new shipping policy? Did I miss something? I just got into the group. So Seams to Travel, we're just talking about like the new changes that are coming up in August where there's no flat rate and everything's going to be replaced by Ground Advantage. And so on the other hand, my buyers who are already buying 1 to 5 pounds, they're going to be so happy because they're going to save $2 a package every time they come to my show and order the same exact thing that they ordered from me before. So I'm glad that they're happy, but that's helping them. It's not helping me because it's not going to help them buy more. It's not going to encourage them to buy more fabric because they're already buying in that 1 to 5 pound package. They're not going to want to buy more because they already saved their $2 by buying the same exact thing. So they're not encouraged to buy more stuff. The people who were buying more stuff are now not encouraged to buy more stuff unless I find a way around it, which I think I have. But I'm just trying to explain why we're upset about how these changes are changing the psychology of the sale, the psychology of the shows. And it seems like, and I know that's not the purpose, but it feels like that it is now that the way that Whatnot has changed the shipping has now made it to where it's almost discouraging people from buying more than 5 pounds worth of stuff. They've even said it. We encourage you to ship in 1 to 5 pound packages because that's where the shipping advantages are within the 1 to 5 pounds. The shipping advantages are not in the larger purchases anymore. So why? Every other private, quilt shop out there that has a shop, not every other, but there's a lot that say free shipping over $100. Free shipping over $80, free shipping over $150. They're rewarding you for making larger orders by covering your shipping for you. Because if you go to a website that's just some quiltshopfabric.com, I don't know if that's a real site, just any quilt shop, website out there, a lot of them will say, let's say free shipping over $100. Well, let's say I've ordered $80 worth of stuff and I'm like, and it's going to cost $17 to ship it. So I can buy $80 worth of fabric and pay $17 to ship it. So that's $97 with shipping plus tax, right? So I'm almost at $100 anyway to get $80 worth of fabric. Or I could add $20 worth of more fabric. I could get $20 more worth of fabric and pay no shipping. And so really I'm only paying $3 more and I'm getting $20 more worth of fabric. So if you get close to that $100, are you going to buy another $20 worth of fabric that you probably, maybe you don't love it, but you might as well, because you're going to be paying that in shipping anyway. So by the time you get close, you're going to fill that gap. You're going to fill that shipping gap with fabric and let the quilt shop owner pay for the shipping. In her pocket, it might not be a whole lot different, but it gives a better feeling to the buyer. And then once they've reached free shipping, well, I'm already at 100. I'm going to add 10 more yards because I'm at free shipping now anyway. I've already paid my shipping. So now I'm going to buy this other stuff that's on clearance. That's not my favorite, but it's at a really good price. And it's some basics. Like I'm going to pick up some solids that you can always use white and black and gray and blue or whatever. I'm going to add some more because I'm already free shipping. Because if I wait and buy another from someone else, I've got to start over on shipping. So I might as well add here because I'm at free shipping now. It's not free, but I have covered my own shipping. So you see how we are incentivizing people to buy more by dangling that free shipping or that max shipping. We've done the same thing with Whatnot now with our flat rate. Pay $9.21 in shipping, and I've got it set up. You buy 2 yards of fabric and you're at $9.21. You're good to go for the whole rest of the show. You can buy 10 more yards of fabric, 20, 30, 40, 50 more yards of fabric. You're not going to pay a dime more in shipping. So once the shipping decision is off, people are like, yeah, throw it in my box. But if that shipping cap is never capped and they're always adding more to their shipping, then the psychology of the large buy goes away, right? So, but now you're insinuating people not to purchase. Right. You're not incentivizing people to limit what they buy. Like stay within the 5 pounds. Stay within that 720, because if, let's say, for instance, we do the change for the 720 and this is what they really want us to do. They want us to do multiple packages. They want us to do, custom shipping profiles so that, we fill up a 5 pound package for 720. And then once they reach over 5 pounds, then it rolls over and starts a new package and it starts their shipping again to 720. So what'll happen is they'll buy a few pieces and they'll get up to 720, and then they'll have free shipping until their package reaches 5 pounds. And then once their package reaches 5 pounds, it'll roll over, and then they'll start paying for shipping again until they fill up the second box for another, or a second package for another $7.20. So what they're going to do is mentally they're going to be like, I want to get as much as I can buy until I get to 5 pounds. And then once they see that, like at the bottom of the shipping where it says 0000, the next time where it says this next purchase is going to cost you $4.20 or whatever, they're going to be like, okay, I'm done. I bought my 5 pounds. Because if I start buying again, now I've got to fill out a second package. Now I've got to start paying up to 720 again. And so I'm not saying they're always going to, I'm saying that they're going to be very selective. They're going to get as much as they can get for the 720. And then once they get to the 720, they're going to be like, I'm good. I encourage people to create new accounts and get free shipping. Yeah, but I have people that buy from me every day. I have people that buy from me every single day, and they're not going to want to make new accounts over and over again just to get, just to save $7 in shipping or whatever. So, just use a different company. So there is no way to use a different company in Whatnot. Like Whatnot is offering postal service, USPS, and that's it. Down the road, they might add on UPS or FedEx or something. We hope that they are, but they talk about maybe one day down the road, but they're not saying, oh yeah, it's definitely coming. And they're not saying that. They're just saying maybe one day. So right now we can't bank on it. We have USPS and that's it. So see, I look at it as multiple packages at $14 is still less than retail price of $28. Yeah, I see that also. But I also see what happened to 921 max shipping, and then it's done. Right. And I get what you're saying, Becca's Sewing Table. She's like, yeah, but even 2 packages at $14.40 is still half the price of a 28-pound priority package. But I don't think very many people are paying $28 for shipping any amount of quilting cotton on any website. because either they're going to the place that has free shipping over a certain amount, or they're going to the seller on here that has max shipping at 921 or 720 or heaven forbid free shipping. Some of the sellers have talked about, I think I'm just going to do free shipping and then I'll just increase my prices on everything else. I hope they don't, but I can't stop them because I think there's a whole host of other problems with that I can get into today or some other time, but I don't think that's a smart decision. But that's my opinion. I can't tell anybody what to do. Every seller has to figure out what's the best method to set up shipping for them. But if some of the big sellers come out of the gate and start doing free shipping right off the bat, that's going to be the bar that everybody else feels like they have to cater to. And we will all feel like, well, if we don't do free shipping like all the big guys do, then we're not going to make any sales. And so, and it may be true for a little while, and then we kind of have to ride it out and see if they continue to do free shipping or if this is just an experiment or whatever. And so, and listen, I'm not trying to convince anybody to think the way I think. I'm giving you my personal anecdotal opinion on how the shipping changes are affecting me, my buyers, because I know my buyers, like I know the trends of how my buyers buy, what they think, what motivates them. I know what kind of, I don't want to say tricks, but like I know what kind of methods that I can use that will encourage people to buy more. Because I have shows almost every day and I've been doing this for almost 2 years, and I kind of already know what they're going to like, what they're going to buy a lot of, what's going to flop, what I'm going to have to clearance out in order to get it to move, all those kinds of things. And I can already tell you that if I don't figure out a way to max ship, to put max shipping in some number, in some way, if I don't incentivize them, the larger orders, those larger orders are not going to happen as much. So, or they're going to find other places, either other Whatnot sellers to buy from or other sites off platform to buy from, to find their stuff. So we have to put exact weight in for each piece of fabric. So Mod Cotton Fabrics, that's what they want you to do. Yes, to put exact weight for each piece of fabric. So I can tell you what I found out. I did get on as a premier seller. You get access to like chat. You can chat with customer service. You get to chat with a real person and ask questions. So I did that this last week. Let me see if I can catch up with on the chat, and then I'll tell you what I found out from them, which is not much, to be honest. Becca says, I personally don't feel like that will happen much at all, especially if they realize, oh, okay, yeah, we talked about that. USPS is in trouble. They're making a lot of changes. So, and it's affecting Whatnot for sure. I think we'll be doing some educating. I think we're all going to be doing some trial and error. And I can tell you what I'm planning to do, but I can also tell you that what I'm planning to do might not work and it's going to be a test. I can tell you what the first thing I'm going to do, and then depending on what happens after that, I can tell you what I might change to. I'm going to tell you all those things if you want to know. Now, I'm not telling you it's the best way because I don't know what the best way is. I will not know what the best way is for me until I've tried a few things. And when I figure out what the best way is for me, then I'll let you know this is what I've decided to stay with and why. And then you can decide if that's also something you want to try. It really depends on what you sell, how often you sell, who you sell to, and what items and how much they weigh and that kind of stuff. Then UPS is the way to go. But we don't have the option, Mina, of UPS at the moment, not through Whatnot. So right now we have to use the tools that are available to us within Whatnot so that we don't violate the terms of service. And so right now going outside of the USPS is not an option for us. We cannot use UPS. We cannot use FedEx. You could try some workarounds, but none of them are recommended. What if you did free shipping and then you charged them shipping outside of the platform and then went to UPS or whatever? That's against terms of service. Not only that, but you got to have a tracking number in order for you to get paid. So when you create the label in Whatnot for the shipping, that's what releases your funds for you to get paid. So if you don't create a label that is a USPS label, how are they going to pay you? Whatnot holds your funds until you generate the label for the package. If you don't generate the label, you don't get your money. So you'd have to do a lot of workarounds you'd have to do the local pickup option. You'd have to do all these things. And that's, then you're playing around with gray area on terms of service. Are you willing? I'm not willing. I'm not willing to lose my entire Whatnot account over figuring out a way to use UPS outside of the terms of service or whatever, because this is my sole form of income. So I'm not willing to do that. So when these changes, do we need to get into our back office and set up shipping again? So Crystal, it's going to reset for you to Ground Advantage because flat rate is not an option anymore. So it's going to default set to everybody to Ground Advantage for all less than 1 pound, 1 to 5 pounds, and over 5 pounds is going to default all to Ground Advantage. Then you can go back and change the settings if you want to. That's up to you. But that's going to be the default setting is going to be Ground Advantage as early as August 1st. Now, does that mean that at midnight 01 on August 1st that every single person's thing is going to load over to Ground Advantage? I doubt it because they tend to roll things out in waves. So some people might have the priority option for some amount of time. I don't know. I have a feeling that's just going to be in waves. And so it could be anytime from August 1st and on. When are we going to find out about shipping over 5 pounds? So Tainter Creek, we do have information about shipping over 5 pounds. But they're not being real clear about how they're going to deal with it, like how they're going to decide. So I'll address that in a moment. That's been my biggest issue is that they've given us an answer, but it's not really an answer. And so, but I'll address that. I'm trying to catch up with all the chats. And then, so we had to put, are you willing to share what you're thinking you're going to put your max at? So yeah, I'll share all of that. I'm just trying to, like, I'm just doing the intro and I'm trying to catch up on chat, but I will share with what I'm going to do at the beginning and then what I'm thinking about doing moving forward. Yes, I am willing to. I think it's nice to see you're paying the fabric for compared to the shipping. It's nice to see what you're paying for the fabric compared to the shipping. Yes, I understand that. Coastal Vintage Vault, hello, welcome in. I'm figuring Whatnot is not going to just let it hang. I'm betting they're working behind the scenes. I'm sure that they are. But here's the other thing. Okay, I'm finally caught up with the chat. Here's the other thing though. When I first came on to Whatnot, they kept saying, "Don't worry about it. We have something called smart bundling. We will figure out the best deal for your customer. So you just put in the weights and we'll bundle." We'll bundle it the best way for your customer. So, but they wouldn't tell us how they decided what gets bundled. So if you've worked in that world, if you've been on Whatnot and you've existed in the smart bundling world, you might get a feel for how they do it. But they haven't really ever posted like, here's exactly how we decide what items go into this box, what items go into that box, what items go into this box. They will just make multiple boxes for you. They'll make multiple shipping labels for one person over the 5 pounds, and they will decide for you let's say somebody orders 20 items and they might have 3 shipping labels, and they'll say, okay, in shipping box number 1 you need to add items 2, 7, and 12 and 14. In shipping box number 2 you need 1, 3, 8, and whatever, and they tell you like Whatnot tells you. And so it's been so long since I've even lived in that world because I very quickly started using flat rate. And what flat rate did. Yes, we'll talk about where priority plays into this also. But what flat rate did for us is it basically turned off smart bundling from Whatnot. It like overrode smart bundling. So whenever I put in that I'm going to use flat rate on 1 to 5 and flat rate on over 5, no longer did Whatnot bundle anything for me. It did not separate anybody's orders. It just put everybody's order in under one shipping, like one order, because unless it was over 70 pounds. And that only happened one time in 2 years did they actually like unbundle for me and make a person's order into 2 packages. And that's because they ordered so much that according to what I put in for the weight, their weight totaled more than 70 pounds. And it confounded me. I was like, why is this person's stuff not on their list? And it just happened like last week. I'm like, why is this person's stuff not on their list? Why is this not on their list? And then I was like, why do they have 2 orders? Why do they have an order that's got 100 items and another order that's got 14 items? Why? And then I realized that they actually had reached, like, according to the ounces that they had added up, they had so many pieces that their order reached 70 pounds, and they flipped over and they started a new box for them for another 70 pounds. But it's only happened once. So when we were using flat rate, it was Whatnot was not doing the smart bundling thing for us. They were just they were putting everything into one box until it reached 70 pounds. Now, what that did for us was that enabled us to go back and say, okay, this person ordered 60 pieces. 60 is too much for a flat rate box, but it's listed under the same box. Like they're expecting me to put it in the same box. So I could manually go in, unbundle, and tell it, okay, put these 40 pieces in this flat rate box and separate the other 20 and put them in another box. And I could unbundle myself manually and make 2 boxes out of one order. And that second box was an adjustment. And I could do a whole nother flat rate box. So one whole flat rate box, an extra one, the second flat rate box was one adjustment. So basically they were fronting me $9.21 on my account out of their pocket for that second box. I could do that up to 5 times a week, but I wasn't hardly ever using that. I was using 1 to 2 times a week. I was probably using 5 adjustments a month. So I wasn't even maxing out on my adjustments, but I was using the adjustments along with flat rate to not, I want to say manipulate, but manipulate sounds, sinister, but like I was manipulating the program to where I used flat rate to turn off smart bundling. And I just had Whatnot dump every single thing in one person's order into one shipping, unless I needed to unbundle it myself. And then whenever I unbundled it, that's when I'd start using my adjustments. And if I happened to use more than 5 adjustments in a week, then I started having to pay out of pocket. But I never had to pay out of pocket because I never used more than 5 adjustments in a week. So do you see how I was using the flat rate to let my customers not have to limit their own shipping, and I never had to pay out of pocket? So the way that it's done now, since we don't have flat rate, we can't, I don't want to say we can't, but it's not set up. There's no button that we can push that will automatically turn off the smart bundling anymore. So I think the biggest question that everybody's asking right now is, how do we know how you're going to bundle our items? And Whatnot is not going to tell us because they haven't been telling us. They didn't tell us before. They're not going to tell us now. So when you ask, so somebody says, are we going to talk about what happens after 5 pounds? They have basically told us all that they're going to tell us. Here's what they've told us over 5 pounds. They have said over 5 pounds is going to revert to the commercial shipping chart through the Postal Service. And they have a link, and it's this big chart. And the commercial rates depend on 3 things. What is the weight of the package? What are the dimensions of the package? And how far is it going? Like how far away from you is it going? Zones, right? So I'm on the East Coast. So somebody that is being shipped also in the East Coast, that part, that far away part is going to be the lowest. But the farther away it goes, I'm in Georgia. So if I send something to somebody in California, that's going to be, or Hawaii, but let's say in the continental United States, California or Washington, somewhere on the West Coast, that's as far away as it's going to go. They're going to pay more for shipping than if it's the same size box, the same weight box to somebody that's on the same side of the country. So all 3 of those things come into play. I think, now this is just me. I don't have any proof of this, but I'm going to have proof when I start doing the new shipping. This is what I'm going to start doing in the beginning. I think their smart bundling is going to be 5 pounds. I think they're going to smart bundle for us, and you just put the weights of your items in, and they're going to bundle it together until it reaches 5 pounds, and then they're going to start over. I think they're going to auto bundle for us at 5 pound increments. That's what I think. I have no proof, but since that's all they're talking about is ground advantage, 1 to 5 pounds, they're trying to get us to automatically make that happen. I think that's what their smart bundling is going to do. And so if that happens, the only time that the over 5 pounds is going to even come into play is if it's one item that's already over 5 pounds, like a bowling ball. That's not going to count for me, right? Like, let's say I sold a quilt kit that weighed 7 pounds that I can't break up. One item is already over 5 pounds. That's the only time, because they can't unbundle one item, that I think that's the only time that the commercial rates are going to come into play. As long as the items that we have are less than 5 pounds each, let's say you do shirts, and let's say we do shirts and we say they're 12 ounces a piece, right? So I think that we're just going to do a 12-ounce shirt, a 12-ounce shirt, a 12-ounce shirt, a 12-ounce shirt until it gets to 80 ounces. And then once it gets to 80 or some up until 80, and then the next shirt is going to go over into the second, and then they're going to start the shipping over again. That's what I think. But I don't have any proof. I asked them that. So remember I told you that I got on the customer service and I asked them, I said, okay, first of all, what's going to happen over 5 pounds? And they were like, click, here's a link to all the changes. Please read. It's that same generic post that they made that says, we encourage you to do custom shipping profiles to make sure that everything goes 1 to 5 pounds, and anything over 5 pounds will be the commercial. I don't think it's even going to be allowed to get over 5 pounds with smart bundling unless the item itself is over 5 pounds. One item over 5 pounds. Anything else, I think they're just going to bundle it per 5 pounds. They didn't say that, but I feel like that's what their smart bundling is going to do. Because here's the deal that they got. Anything from 1 to 5 pounds doesn't count for the dimensions. There is a max dimensions, but it's not like it doesn't change. It's like as long as it's under that 12 by 12 by 12 and it's less than 5 pounds, it doesn't matter the zone. It doesn't matter how far away it goes. It's going to be $7.20. It's almost like flat rate. It's like flat rate for Ground Advantage. But instead of flat rate up to 70 pounds, it's going to be flat rate up to 5 pounds. That's my prediction. And instead of using flat rate packages, we got to use our own packages, which is good for people who do like yarn. Let's say you do yarn, and because yarn can fit in a big giant box and still only weigh a few pounds. Like you could probably fill up a 12 by 12 by 12 inch box full of yarn and maybe be still under 5 pounds. So for somebody like that might be helpful. For me, if I filled up a 12 by 12 by 12 inch box full of fabric, it's going to be way over 5 pounds. It's going to be way over 10 pounds. It's going to be high, and they're not going to want me to do that. They're going to want me to separate it. You've tried asking the bots several questions and only get the generic response. Whatnot really needs to be more transparent with their information. Yes. Well, I got past the bots and I got to a real person. And the first thing the real person did was also send me that generic information. And I'm like, okay, I read all that. I got it. And they're like, oh, you must be a new seller. I'm like, no, I'm not a new seller. I know exactly how shipping works right now. I'm asking about how shipping is going to work down the road. I asked them, this is what I asked them specifically. I said, right now, I can use a whole other flat rate box, a whole second flat rate box in somebody's order, and it counts as an adjustment. So I asked them, if I use a whole second 5 pound package, like let's say somebody orders enough to get 1 to 5 pounds, and then they order another amount to get to, let's say 7 pounds. Would that second package over the 5 pounds be an adjustment up to another 5 pounds? And they said, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't understand the question. Okay. I don't know how else to rephrase that question because I feel like that's a simple one. But they did not know. I don't think they understood how we are using flat rate right now. So because I was trying to equate it to this is how I do it now. How is it going to, like, what's the equivalent of that in the next shipping changes? They didn't even know what I meant, right now. They're like, no, you just, overages or adjustments are for like, if your package weighs different than you thought it was going to weigh. And I was like, okay, I get it. But even now, if you go over, like sometimes going over, they will say, well, that's an adjustment. But sometimes if you go over way more, they'll say that's more than an adjustment. You're going to have to pay for that. We don't even know because they've never actually told us, but our guess is that it's about a 5 pounds. So like you can go like up to 5 pounds over what your shipping box says, and they will cover that. But once you get more than like 5 pounds above what it's expecting, then they start asking you to pay money, which I've not had to do in a long, long time. But within that next like extra 5 pounds buffer, that's kind of where the adjustments live. So they basically what they were saying is like, we don't know what you're talking about. We don't know what you're asking. And I was like, Okay. And that's so I said, what about adjustments? Are we still going to get adjustments? Do they work the same way? And they're like, adjustments will not change, in all caps. I said, well, actually, they will, because right now a flat rate box is an adjustment. Like an extra flat rate box is an adjustment. So if you take away flat rate box, what is the equivalent of that in adjustments? And they're like, adjustments aren't changing. That's all I can tell you is adjustments aren't changing. They're the same. There's no other information. And I was like, okay. So as you can see, the person I'm talking, it was not a bot, it was a real person. But as you can see, the people that are answering these questions probably don't do shipping on Whatnot. They probably did not, are not trained on it. They probably have not actually done it. And they really didn't know what I was talking about. And so, what was the last thing that I asked them? I can't remember. But essentially, I know. I said, okay, so right now, we use flat rate shipping to like override the smart bundling option, right? Because when you put in flat rate shipping, there's no smart bundling unless it's over 70 pounds, right? So we kind of like override it or, turn it off or whatever. And I said, so how do we do that? Like, there's not a way to do that without flat rate shipping. And he was like, no, that is not possible. You cannot override smart bundling. I'm like, well, I mean, you kind of can. Like, we kind of do now. Like, we use flat rate to do that. And like, we do up to the 70 pounds. And he was like, no, that's not possible. There's no way to do that. That is not possible. Basically saying you don't know what the hell you're talking about. So, if they don't understand how shipping is working now, how in the world are they going to be able to explain to me how shipping is going to work later? And so at that point, I was like, and then he said, I'm so sorry. I cannot help you with your questions. And he said, but if you want me to, I can, send your questions and concerns up the chain, farther up, so that you can ask somebody else. And I was like, yeah, I think that would be a good idea. And as soon as I started typing something else and I said, yes, that's a good idea. Thank you so much. This chat is closed. Here, can you send this a thumbs up or thumbs down? How did I do? Put the stars, give some feedback. This chat is closed. It will remain in your DM, blah, blah, blah. Have a good day. It was like the whole automated thing. Like as soon as I said, yes, please do that, within 1.9 seconds, 0.19 seconds really, he had shut that chat down and said he was going to send it up the chain, which that's probably not going to happen. Like I probably won't hear back from anybody else, but he was ready to be off the chat with me, sure. Because like I said, he did not know what I was asking for now, and he really did not know to answer my questions for later. So here's what that told me. As I'm thinking more, like I'm trying to think ahead of like, how is this going to work without flat rate shipping? How are we going to make the same? How are we going to get similar results with different shipping options without flat rate? It's going to be tough. And the only way we know to do it is to know how they're going to bundle, like how they're going to unbundle, how they're going to smart bundle, how the adjustments are going to work. And then I realized this. Okay, let's say that I use custom shipping profile to make sure that I automatically have 1 to 5 pound packages, multiple 1 to 5 pound packages. For example, if somebody orders 12 pounds of products from me total, if their package is 12 pounds, they're going to get 3 packages. One package up to 5 pounds, another package for the second 5 pounds, and then another package for the last 2 pounds, right? So they're going to get 3 packages of $7.20 each because of the way I set up custom profiles. If I set up my own custom profiles, there's no smart bundling that's going to happen because I'm doing it myself, and there should be no adjustments. I can't unbundle myself and use adjustments because there's no adjustments to be made because I'm putting in the weights and it's automatically like I'm unbundling it. I'm telling it how to unbundle. If I don't do it, I think Whatnot's going to do it for me. And if Whatnot unbundles every 5 pounds, there still will not be any adjustments for me to utilize unless it's an accident. Like if I'm putting in the right weight for everything, there shouldn't really be any overages, especially when they roll it over every 5 pounds. There really shouldn't be any overages. Um, Unless they're like right to the very, very edge and they think it should have been 4.5 pounds and it was like a half a pound difference and it's over the 5 pounds because of the way they did it. Okay, that might happen. But like I can't make it happen like we made it happen with flat rate. Do you understand what I'm saying? If you've already used flat rate, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's no way to make that happen. Well, there is, but there's no way right now that the way they've set it up to make that happen. If we put this exact weights in like they're supposed to be. And so I'm saying all that to say, I made this a very long thing, but the reason why I'm saying all this is because I could put max shipping in right now. And I knew that my overages, my adjustments were going to take care of my big buyers. A big buyer that bought more than one flat rate box full of fabric, Whatnot's going to cover that. And if it happened twice in a show, Whatnot's going to cover that too. So I could offer that. And I knew that it was only going to happen so few times that Whatnot was going to take care of the rest of it. And it was just I was not going to have to come out of pocket. And thank you, Mo Dodi. That's very nice of you. I appreciate you. And so now if I do it and Whatnot unbundles for me, or I set up custom shipping profiles to bundle for myself, if I set max 720 and somebody buys 12 pounds worth of product, I am going to come out of pocket $14.40. They're going to pay the 720 for the first one. I'm going to pay 720 for the second one. I'm also going to pay 720 for the third one. So that's a lot if that happens multiple times a show and I have multiple shows per week. That's a lot. Plus having to pay for the packaging, right? So here's the biggest question is, what do I want to have max shipping? Do I want to do free shipping? Do I want to just let the shipping fall and let the customers pay for whatever they pay for? Those are my three options. Those are your three options. Do you want to offer free shipping? Do you want to offer some sort of max shipping of what you decide? You could do $7.20, you could do $14.40, you could do $20, you can do $10, you can do $8, you can do whatever. You have to figure out what's best. Like, what are you willing to bear the burden of the shipping in order to get some people to order larger items? And that's going to be based on your customer history, your buyer's history, if you have one. If you don't know, how do you know what to do? You just have to use trial and error. So those are your three choices. You do free shipping, and then you increase the cost of your items all the way across the board to try to cover down. I don't think that's a good idea, but that's an option. Do you do max shipping of some amount? And if you do max shipping, what is it? How much is it? Or do you do buyer pays all shipping and you let the cards fall where they may and whatever happens, happens? I don't think there's a wrong answer or a right answer. It depends on how much you sell, what you sell, if it's full-time for you or part-time, what your buying cost is versus what your selling cost is, what your profit margin is, all those things. It's different for everybody. So you have to decide. For me, I don't want to make my buyers, because my buyers have been with me some of them have been with me for a couple of years, like almost since the beginning. I don't want to have them have offered $9.21 max shipping. And then suddenly I'm like, well, if you buy 12 pounds worth of stuff, you're going to pay 21 something for shipping now, over double. They're going to be like, okay, well, I probably won't buy quite as much as I used to. I have it set up now where on the buyer rewards tiers, there's 5 buyer rewards tiers. I have it set up now. I have figured out how to do shipping on the back end myself to where my 4th and 5th tier, my hens and my mother cluckers, they get free shipping for the week. I mean, not free, but they get $9.21 shipping once a week. And they can order from me for 4 shows or 5 shows. And they only have to pay $9.21 one time. And they get all those packages. I have that all figured out. Once the shipping changes come, I don't know how to make that happen. So I've got to figure out a different way. I know there's going to be a way to do something semi-similar, but I don't know exactly how, because I don't know how Whatnot is going to have it set up. So that's a lot, right? And I haven't really given you any information. I've just given you my issues with it and what our options might be and what Whatnot is telling, which is a lot of nothing. If you have an item that weighs 1.5 pounds, for some reason, it's going to cost more than a 2-pound package. I don't understand their reasoning. That is, so Whitmore, that's with the Postal Service. That's if you just ship something like through Pirate Ship, or you ship something with your, like you go to the post office or use your commercial. That's not through Whatnot. Whatnot has a different um, uh, agreement with the postal service. That little thing where it's more to send a 1 pound package than it is to send a 3 pound package. That's something that's like something that has happened as a change in the last couple months. I don't know how long it's going to last, but that's not happening on Whatnot. So that's out. That doesn't apply to us as Whatnot sellers. So what's the solution? I saw on eBay, so it's different, I guess. I know eBay changed that pricing. Yeah, it's something that's happening through the post office. So people are like, if something is coming up as like 1.5 pounds, then they're putting it in as 2.1 pounds because it's saving like $3 in the shipping. And some people, it's coming back to them and they're being charged for it. So now people are like packing rocks in boxes and stuff to make it way more. And like, it's a big thing, but it has nothing to do with Whatnot. So we're not worried about that. So, first of all, I have some ideas about what I think is going to happen, what I think is going to work for me, but I don't know for sure. And the first thing I have to do is figure out if Whatnot smart bundling is what I think it is, right? So I got to do that first. So I can't do any manipulating. I cannot do anything like setting up things a specific way at first. I have to just do the flat default at first to try to find out what is Whatnot going to do on their own to my shipments. What is their smart bundling process? If I start manipulating things and changing weights and putting things in and doing custom shipping profiles, I'm not going to know if they did it or if my custom profile did it. So first I got to set a baseline of like, what do I already expect Whatnot is going to do with my shipments on their own with their smart bundling things. So I can't start manipulating the shipping settings until I know that. So, and let me say this before I go into any more details. I'm not telling you what you should do. I'm telling you what I am going to do is that this is a whole bunch of changes, and me as a business owner have to adjust to these changes. I choose not to push those mistakes and learning, like all the learning that I'm going to do for this new shipping changes. I choose not to push those onto my customers. You could. I choose not to, which means I don't want my customers to feel the squeeze of the changes until I figure out how I'm going to do it best on the back end. So I am going to eat the extra costs of shipping and the mistakes and the learning experiences and the figuring it all out. I'm going to eat that myself before I let my customers feel that. So the one thing I am going to do is I am going to set a max shipping in the very beginning of 720. And I'm also going to tell everybody this is temporary. I don't know exactly if this is going to be all the time, but this is what we're going to do at first, because that gives them an immediate break from 921 max shipping to 720 max shipping. And the rest of the shit that happens in the background, they don't know, and they shouldn't have to care. They don't have to know what I'm doing behind the scenes or how I'm bundling and unbundling and packaging and buying and they don't need to know all of that. That's not their concern, and it shouldn't be. It should just be they know that when the shipping changes happened, her max shipping went down by $2 a package. I won't be able to do the hens and the mother clucker things, the weekly thing. I'm not going to be able to do that. So they already know that that's going away at the end of July. But the first thing I'm going to do is going to change max shipping to 720 for my customers for a while. I'm just going to tell them for now, 720 for shipping, which means I might have to eat a lot of shipping in the beginning, depending on how it all unbundles or whatever. That's an expense that I'm willing to bear that I'm not going to pass down to my customers. It's my job to figure out how to best use the new shipping settings to save myself as much money on the extra shipping as possible in order to encourage my customers to buy those larger items. It's not their job to pay for it until I figure it out. It's my job to figure out how to save myself on the tail end as much shipping savings as possible, whether it means using my Poshmark packages that I have here that are not listed as Poshmark. All they say is Ground Advantage, and I have a whole bunch of them here that I have a Poshmark account, and I order free Poshmark Ground Advantage supplies from them. I have poly mailers, I have boxes, I have bubble mailers. I'm going to use those because they don't say Poshmark. Nothing on it says you cannot use this on non-Poshmark packaging. So I'm going to use those. So I'm not going to incur any cost in the beginning for my packaging. I'm going to have to buy some tape. But in the beginning, okay, I might have people that order 2 and 3 packages, 2 and 3 5-pound packages in one order. Anything over $7.20, I'm just going to have to come out of pocket. I'm just going to have to eat it myself. And then I will be very, very incentivized to figure out, man, how can I make it work so that I don't have to pay? If somebody orders 3 packages up to 5 pounds, how do I figure out how to not have to pay for that second and third package of $7.20 out of my own pocket? Because I know there's a way. I already think I know how I'm going to do it, but I can't say for sure it's going to work until I do it, right? And so, how long ago did I start? I started at 1:00, so almost an hour ago, but it's also on YouTube. So if you go, these are also multicast on YouTube. So even after, it will stay on YouTube. If you go look for Cheap Girl Fabrics on YouTube, if you don't see it, it's because you got to hit the live button. If you hit the live tab on YouTube, you'll see the live replays. They don't always come up on the homepage. And this is only the second time I've gone on YouTube with these. So if you missed it, you can go back and see it on YouTube. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm just going to put in every weight. Like, I'm not doing custom shipping profiles yet. I'm going to put every weight in like it is. And I'm going to pad it a little bit for packaging, right? So like, a yard of fabric weighs about 5 ounces, 5 to 6 ounces. So I'm probably going to put 6 ounces for every yard of fabric. And I'm probably going to put 3 ounces for every half yard of fabric. And that's just what I'm going to do. So I might do a custom shipping profile like that, but I'm not going to do a max bundling. I'm not going to try to manipulate the 5-pound packaging myself. I'm going to let Whatnot do it first and see what it does. And it might not be a long show. Like, I might not do a 3-hour show. I might do a 1-hour show, just to limit in case something like really bad gets messed up and I end up having to pay like $100 in shipping or something. Like, I'm not going to do, $1,000 show and then realize 500 of it is coming out of my pocket in shipping because I thought that they were going to bundle it a certain way and they bundled it some other way. I'm not going to do that. So I am going to limit the number of items that I do, but not all the time. Like, somebody asked me the other day, I guess I'm just going to limit what I offer in my shows. I think the fact that Whatnot is changing the shipping so that we feel like we have to limit the number of items we sell in a certain show in order to not piss off our customers is terrible. Terrible. There's got to be a different way. If I have to start limiting all of my shows, like, that's not what I want to do. I will find a different way. I want to find that way here on Whatnot. I don't want to leave the platform and try to find some other platform to do it on. I want to find a different way to make that work here. But until I figure out like, how is Whatnot going to do the unbundling themselves? How is custom shipping going to work? And how is custom profiles going to work and all that? I will do a couple of shows limited, just so that if there's something messed up, I don't have to come out like a buttload of money. To be like, well, that probably was a bad setting to do. And so I will limit my shows just for the first few while I'm learning how it's going to work on the back end. But as a new shipping setting for you for permanently and all into the future, I do not think we should be thinking about limiting the number of items that we sell in a show as a rule. That goes against everything in my fiber about how to grow as a business. I don't want to do that. So I don't know why they changed in the first place. Scout and Skein. I don't know why. It has something to do with the post office, and I think they maybe lost their account with them, like their agreement with them or whatever. They won't say. So we're all speculating. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe the Postal Service is getting ready to get rid of flat rate. I don't know. They haven't said that either, but I have no idea. But so the first thing I'm going to do is set max shipping at 720, and I'm not changing. I'm not trying to manipulate any 1 to 5 pound, but I'm not trying to like manipulate how it bundles on the back end myself. I'm going to let Whatnot do that because I have a theory that their smart bundling is going to be every 5 pounds. They're going to flop over to another package. The only way for me to prove that is to not manipulate the bundling on the tail end and to let them do their thing and just put everything in as accurately as possible on the weights, right? So that's what I plan on doing. Now, how does that affect people who sell all kinds of different stuff? That sucks for y'all. Like really, like Whatnot is an app that we're supposed to be selling all kinds of different stuff and like all kinds of big shows and all kinds of multiple things. The fact that we have to pre-weigh all of our items sucks. Luckily for fabric people, most of our items are like similar price, similar weight. Like you have fat quarters, they all weigh, about the same. You have half yards, they all weigh about the same. You have yards, they all weigh about the same. And even if you have multiple yards, you can pretty much, as long as it's quilting cotton. When you start getting into apparel, when you start getting into home dec, when you start getting into patterns, when you start getting into notions and other things, then you're talking about having to take extra time to pre-weigh everything, which sucks. And what about people who do storage units and who do estate sales, who every single item that they have is different, a different weight? You cannot do bundling on your own when everything is a different weight. Here's the other big issue that nobody's even talking about. And I asked them about this in the chat. I'm deactivating all my home decor items at the end of July until it all plays out. Yeah, I've got 500 rolls of home dec. I bought out a home dec store. And it's in my garage. And then all these shipping changes started to come. And I was like, I'm not selling a bit of that right now because I don't know how that's going to play out. But here's the other thing that's like really a big thing. They want us, in that whole article that they sent us about the new changes and stuff, they told us to use custom shipping profiles to make sure that we bundle, up to 5 pounds. And this is how they want you to do it. They want, this is how it's set up on custom bundling or custom shipping profiles. You go in and you say, let's make a custom shipping profile for yards, right? And so I know that a yard weighs about 5 ounces. And so it will let you put in the first item to include the packaging. So let's say I put in the first item is 7 ounces. Let's just say, because that's 5 ounces for the half yard or even 8 ounces. 5 ounces for the first yard, not half yard, 5 ounces for the first yard plus 3 ounces for the label, the packaging, the plastic, the tape, that kind of thing. So the first item is going to be 8 ounces in case somebody just buys one item. And then that's going to be an 8 ounce package, right? And then it will say, then you can indicate how much to add for every additional piece that goes in that package. So then I could say, well, the first piece is 8 ounces and every other piece after that is 5 ounces. Okay. So, and 80 ounces is the max, right? At 5 pounds, 80 ounces. So let's do the math right there, right? I should already have this in my head, but so we have 80 ounces minus 8 for the first packaging and the first piece. That's 72. And if every other piece is 5 ounces, so divided by 5, that's 14.4, which is, we got to go down to 14 because otherwise we're over. So we can add 14 more yards in that package. So the max number of yards that can go in that package to make approximately 5 pounds is 15 yards. I can set the number at 15 max, and it will automatically say, well, once somebody buys 15 pieces, 15 yards of fabric, we're going to cap it off and we're going to roll it into another package. Well, that sounds great. But what happens if I want to sell yards and half yards and fat quarters and fat eighths and scrap bags? What happens when I want to sell things that don't weigh 5 ounces? Because I don't know if y'all know this. You might not know a whole lot about the shipping bundling because if you're a fabric seller, you've probably been playing with flat rate the whole time. But guess what? If I have a custom profile set up for a max amount for yards that says don't put more than 15 yards in a box. I can set up another one for half yards that says 5 ounces for the first piece and 3 ounces for every other piece up to 20, whatever, 27 or whatever, and cap it off there. Great. But it only works if I'm only selling half yards or I'm only selling yards. If I start selling yards and half yards, guess what happens? If somebody buys 10 yards from me and 5 half yards from me, even though together they still don't weigh 5 pounds, since they're in a different shipping profile, custom shipping profile, they're still going to give them 2 packages. They're going to put all the yards in this package. They're going to put all the half yards in this package. This package might weigh 3 pounds. This package might weigh 1.5 pounds. So technically it's still together less than 5 pounds, but they're going to pay $7.20 for this piece and $7.20 for that piece. So here's where it doesn't make any sense to make custom shipping profiles unless you're going to only sell items that weigh the exact same thing. So if you were to sell half yards and yards, you'd have to sell your half yards in pairs. You'd have to sell a yard at 5 ounces and 2 yards, a pair of yards at also 5 ounces, and you'd have to just call it a yard. Do you know what I mean? Like you can only make custom shipping profiles of items that weigh the same thing, and you give it one label and one weight. You cannot have things that weigh different amounts in the same package in the same custom shipping profile. So that doesn't do us any good unless you want to start doing shows where like, well, this show I'm only going to sell yards. And I do that sometimes, like my flat rate, my brain is on flat rate. My flash sale shows, I only sell half yards. Now people might buy a yard or 2 yards, whatever, but they buy multiple half yards. They're buying everything in increments of half yards. So if somebody buys 2 yards of something from me, they bought 4 half yards and they bought 4 different items. They just happen to be cut together, right? So I could do that on those types of shows. But what happens when I've got all this other stuff that I'm doing in auction and some of it's half yards and some of it's yards and some of it's fat quarters and some of it's fat eighths and some of it's scrap bags? I can't do that with custom shipping profiles. So either I have to have different shows for different items. Like this show is half yards only. This yard, and some people might do that. Like I'm going to have different shows. I'll have yard shows and I'll have half yard shows and I'll have fat quarter shows and I'll have scrap bag shows. I think that sucks. I don't want to have to do that. But some people might. And some people only sell yards. Some people might change the way they sell and say, well, I'm just going to sell everything by the yard or everything by the half yard. You could do that. You could manipulate how you sell things or how you combine things and have everything be the same unit of weight and only sell in those units of weight. And then you can say this many units of weight goes in to make one bag. And then at the next show, you can have a different thing. So like you could sell all yards at this show and have a show tomorrow and have all half yards and do a different custom profile for the half yards. So, but in the same show, it will not combine items from 2 different shipping profiles into one. The only time it did that was when we had flat rate. And after August, we're not going to have that anymore. So we're going to have all these different items in different packages. And so, unless, in my mind, this is my prediction, we just put in the weights. If you have stuff that has different weights, that's what I'm going to try on my first few shows. I'm going to have a whole bunch of different stuff with different weights. I'm just going to put them in as accurately as I can. And I predict that Whatnot is going to unbundle things, smart bundle them in 5-pound increments. And if I'm right, then I know what I'm going to do after that. I'm going to have a few shows like that. I'm going to see if I'm right. And if I'm right, then I can figure out how to kind of manipulate and set up my custom shipping profiles behind the scenes to be able to use my adjustments. All right. Yeah, you could do a claim show, which is a pain. I am not going to do that. So no, you don't include the packaging in each individual weight if you're doing custom profiles. So yeah, that's the only other issue. The only other issue is if you don't do custom shipping profiles and you have to put everything in by the weight, you can never tell who's going to buy their first piece for their package. So if you have to put everything in by the weight and you're not doing custom shipping profiles, You have to pad everything at least a little bit, just in case somebody only buys one or two things. However, I do know this. The only time that's going to come into play is when it's less than a pound. And as of right now, if it doesn't change, if you had something that's like 4 ounces and it ends up being 7 ounces, you can adjust from 4 to 7 and it doesn't make a difference in the weight, but it will when the shipping, when it, the changes come for Ground Advantage. So what you might have to do, like I see, that's where I don't know where you come in. Are you willing to pay an adjustment of like $1.10 because you put everything in as the exact weight and somebody bought one piece from you? What happens if you put in your fat quarters and you put them in as 2 ounces or whatever, and because you can't put in 1.5, so you put in 2 ounces, and somebody buys one fat quarter from you, and it's expecting you to have 2 ounces, and the package is 4 ounces. I don't remember what the chart is, so that one might be that might be okay. I think 0 to 4 or 1 to 4 is the same anyway. So, it's only going to happen like if it goes up from those little, it's 1 to 4 and then 5 to 8 and then 9 to 12 or something like that, right? It's those little, it's kind of like the drop downs like they are now, and so that's what sucks. You may have to use your adjustment for 32 cents. I don't want to use one of my 5 adjustments for a 32-cent thing to cater to somebody who bought one item from me. I want to use my adjustments for the person who bought $120 worth of items from me. Like, I don't want to cater my shipping settings to the person who wants to buy one thing. I want to cater my shipping to the person who wants to buy a lot of things. But the problem with that is if I pad everything too much and say, okay, well, I'll just say everything weighs 6 ounces. Okay, well, that means that what Whatnot thinks is a 5-pound package might only be like a 3.5-pound package. And then they're going to go ahead and flip over to the next weight. And if you've maxed it out at 720 and you're footing the bill for the next one, you might end up footing the bill before you have to. And I'll tell you this, if the shipping adjustments aren't changing, here's how it works. You can adjust to make 2 packages separate and they will cover the adjustment. But if you take 2 separate packages and put it together to make it into one, they're not going to refund you. If they've already charged you $7.20 for this package and $7.20 for this package, and together they can still be less than 5 pounds, and you go ahead and unbundle, they'll let you do it, but they're not going to give you the refund for the extra $7.20. They're either going to charge the customer if you have buyer pays all, or they're going to charge you if you paid for the extra. So it's not going to do you. You're going to save them $7.20, not you. They're going to keep that money. So where can you find the formal announcement from Whatnot about these upcoming changes? In the Seller Hub. You just want to read it. So look in like help.whatnot.com. I think it's in the help section, and it's also on their blog. So look at the Whatnot blog and just put in like upcoming shipping changes or something like that. I don't know the exact. If anybody can put the exact link in there, that would be awesome. And you should have gotten an email from them as well. It might have gone to your spam folder, but just put in look up Whatnot shipping in your search for your email, and you would have received it. So here's the other thing, and they haven't talked about this since the very beginning, but when I first got my email, there was 2 different emails that I know of that were sent. One was the generic email, and one was the email that I got, and a lot of y'all got, that said for people who they looked at all the packages that you shipped in May. So for people who shipped more than 100 packages using flat rate shipping in May, they evaluated our shipping, and they are going to give us some kind of credit on our ledger. First of all, they did not say what a ledger was. I know what in general a ledger is, but there's nowhere you can go on your account that says, here's your ledger. So I guess they're going to create something called a ledger. They're going to give us some sort of credits on our account. I'm assuming it's not going to be cash. I'm assuming we can probably use it as like shipping overages or something like that to help mitigate the transition from using a whole lot of flat rate to using a whole lot of not flat rates. You saw a ledger somewhere? Okay, so they might have set it up then. And if it is, I haven't found it. So they're supposed to be sometime this month, They're supposed to be like adding money to our ledger. They didn't say how much. They didn't say if it's a sliding scale depending on how many packages. They said they were just going to evaluate how many packages we use. And I can tell you this, if they were going to do that for me in the month of May, I don't know how many packages it was, but let's just say it's a lot more than 100. Especially if they count all the flat rates, because padded flat rates, medium flat rate boxes and large flat rate boxes, probably thousands if they do the whole month. So I don't know if they're going to give us like a credit per package or if they're going to do a range. I don't know. You received a refund of $10 in your bank account, expecting no refunds. $10. Okay. Oh, okay. So okay. Check on the finance tab and it's to the left of payout. I'm doing that right now. Finance tab. I got to get out of the show. Okay, hold on. Seller Hub. I don't see finance tab. Is it on the computer or is it on the, I see payouts. Is it only on the computer? Oh, okay. Use my desktop. Okay. Let's do that. I'm still using my old computer. Okay. Well, I'm in the show. Okay. Sorry, I know this is probably a little bit boring, but I want to be able to show you guys if I can find it. And I'm on my old laptop, so it's, if I open an extra tab, it struggles a little bit. I get this pop-up that says, it has been 987 days since you have updated. I'm like, okay, X. I do have my new computer. I just haven't set it up yet. Okay. So I guess I'm switching to selling. I'm taking my time. Finances. Found it. Finances. Okay. And then somebody said, the ledger has been there since I started in April. See, I only use my phone unless I have to do shipping. So that's probably why I haven't seen it. It's to the left of payouts. Ledger. Are y'all having credits? Ah, so it's like tips, payouts. But what are they called? Does anybody see a shipping credit from them, or like, has anybody seen anything added to their ledger for flat rate? Anything? Sales. I'm looking under the types. Yeah, I don't see anything. I just see like payouts and stuff. So I don't know. I don't even know how I would know. And like, I don't know, I guess, is it a credit and then can we cash it out, or is it a credit we can use to like get paid into our bank account and buy shipping supplies with, or is it something that we can use on our overages if we decide, like if I decide to do 720 max shipping, and that's what I probably will do. If I'm doing all these experiments and stuff, I'm just gonna do 720 max shipping and I'm gonna figure it out on the tail end. And if it ends up being $100 and some, well, I'll just use my ledger. But I don't know if they did give me money. It's probably already long gone in my bank account because I suck that money out as soon as it arrives. So I don't know. So y'all let me know if you've seen anything from them for the overages and the shipping. I don't even know what they would call it. So that might be a question that I need to ask them when I get back on the chat with them. Just see. So I did ask them about the custom shipping profile. You know, I asked them, I was like, so if I set up a shipping profile of certain weight, that means I cannot combine items of different weights. And the guy was like, yeah, pretty much. And I was like, okay, so what happens if I have different stuff that weighs different stuff? And he was like, I don't know. I'm like, okay, but like, you realize most people who sell on Whatnot, I don't know if about most, but like a lot of people who sell on Whatnot don't sell exactly the same thing in a show that weighs the same thing. I think in their minds, they're all about the cards, and the handbags or whatever. Like, what are the biggest t-shirts and cards, Pokemon cards and sports cards. Like they're thinking about, oh, this is easy, just make everything an ounce or whatever, right? Or whatever. And they're not thinking about the huge vintage category where people have glass items where they have to ship them separately, or and everything weighs something different, and they're just pulling shit out of a box. Like, let's pull this out of the box and see what it is. Here's a sewing machine, and here's a jacket, and here's an umbrella, here's a fishing pole, and here's a pair of boots, and here is a quilt or whatever. Like, yeah, you could put a scale right there and weigh it as you go. Okay, then you have to go in there and click it. Yeah, then I guess you could change it to be like, here's some ranges and call them small items, medium items, large items, but that's not very exact. And if you're only trying to do 1 to 5 pounds, do you know what that's going to look like on the storage units? These storage unit people are going to have 5 million 1 to 5 pound packages. And they've already told us that anything over 5 pounds is not going to be cost effective. Even at the ground advantage level, it's not going to be cost effective. They want us to remain in that 1 to 5 pound. And if Whatnot does its bundling on like automatic bundling at the 5 pound rate, which is my prediction, but I could be wrong, that's really going to mess up. Like if I was in the storage unit category, I would probably be a lot more worried than I am now, because I have a solvable problem with fabric. I just have to figure out how to combine it all together. Mine's not like, my pieces are small. So it's just about how do I combine the pieces together, to make the best for my customer and the best for me not coming out of pocket. But if I've got odd items and big items and heavy items and light items and different items, and they're all miscellaneous, and I don't know how they're going to do that, and it's going to cost a lot more money for my customers, maybe they're just going to do the same thing that they always did. Like those people are not probably already not using flat rate anyway. So maybe the prices won't be a whole lot different than they were before. But the way they're making it sound is that over 5 pounds is going to just, like, they're saving, the big savings is in the 1 to 5 pound at the expense of the over 5 pounds, which is going to be more than it was before. That's what they're making it sound like. But again, they're not really being real clear. So all that, oh, I missed some of the chat. That I can't help because I was still new in May and probably didn't qualify for the credit that you speak of. Yeah, it was. They said that it was anybody who shipped 100 items or more using a flat rate, and so I know I did that. I think it's going to be much simpler than you're expecting. I think it'll be simple as long as it's under 5 pounds, but over 5 pounds, it is definitely going to be an issue. So I have some heavy vintage antique glass. I already moved to another platform. Yeah, I think it's just going to, like, a lot of people are going to change the way they sell things and where they sell things. And that's a shame. Because when the sellers leave, the buyers are going with them. I wish I could make a longer message in the chat. I can't say what I need to in 150 characters. If it's 6 pounds, I think it will just be a bit more, maybe 9. So you cover anything over what you set the max shipping at. I don't think that's gonna, I think it will be like 9, but I don't think it's going to be 9 in one package. I think it's going to be 9 in 2 packages. I think it's going to be one package for $7.20 and a second package for $3 or $4, whatever. But see, that's a total guess, and there's no way that we'll know. And Whatnot will not tell us. They will not tell us. All they will say is anything over 5 pounds is going to go the commercial rate. Well, it's not going to go the commercial rate if they split it up and make it into 2 packages. But here's what I really think. I think the way that how am I trying to say this? I think, let's say somebody has 8 pounds. And it really depends on how big the package is and where they live from me. I get that. But I think in general, especially if it's more than like 2 zones away, I think if you look at the chart and you look at the 1 to 5 pounds, I think it will end up being cheaper to put it in 2 $7.20 packages. It'll be cheaper for that 8 pounds to be in 2 separate packages for $14.40 than for one package to be 8 pounds. I think if it's going to be close, but I think it's going to be like, if it's somebody on the same coast as me, it might be slightly cheaper. If it's somebody way over there, it's going to be definitely cost more than $14.40. So this is where I would rather Whatnot bundle for me than me custom shipping bundle for myself, because then it's automatically going to custom bundle. Whereas maybe Whatnot has it set in to where they know if it will be cheaper to bundle it into 2 different 5-pound packages or 2 4-pound packages rather than 1 8-pound package, because based on that person's in California. Maybe they have the ability to do all of that, and we'll just have to let them do. And if that's going to happen, we'll have to see. Based on what that is, until we know exactly how they're going to unbundle, I can't figure out how I'm going to set up my shipping beyond just putting the exact weights in and letting them unbundle and see how it goes. But see, then again, I still want to do max shipping. I don't want to limit my customers wanting to buy lots of stuff. Let me pull up an order I sent from an Etsy order. 1 second. Okay, so she's gonna compare like an Etsy order to a Whatnot order, and I get that even if it's higher, it might still be lower than Etsy and it might still be lower than eBay. I get all that, but what I'm concerned with is I don't want it. It's not going to be cheaper than in August. Whatnot is not going to be cheaper for the larger packages over 5 pounds than July Whatnot. Like, I want to compare Whatnot to Whatnot. I don't want to compare Whatnot to Etsy. You know what I mean? So, and I totally get it, because after a year of this being into place, people aren't even going to remember what the old Whatnot stuff was, and it's not going to matter. And all the people that did the order in the 1 to 5 pound packages anyway, all they're going to know is they saved $2 a package, and they're going to be so happy. And that's fine. I'm not worried about any of that. I'm more worried about my big spenders, because I want to keep my big spenders, because my big spenders are 30 to 40% of my sales. And I don't want to discourage them from continuing to be big spenders. I want to figure out how to make that happen without having to pay all of their shipping. It's all ground advantage and based on their last negotiated rate. Whatnot will probably have a better rate than Etsy. Okay, the 1 to 5 pounds is based on their the 1 to 5. Did I say that? The 1 to 5 pound is based on their negotiated rate. But according to Whatnot, this is according to what they have on their website, the over 5 pound rate reverts to the commercial table, the commercial rates that are published on the USPS website. They even left the link there. So if it's over 5 pounds, it's going to be based on whatever the commercial rate is for the post office, not the negotiated Whatnot, but the commercial rates at the post office, which are still cheaper than the retail rates. I get that. But it's going to be based on the distance, the weight, and the dimensions. And they got all these girth, depth, width, total, cubic limits that we have to worry about. I don't want to mess with. So I would just rather do multiple packages, but I'm not all of Whatnot. You know, what happens when, like I said, you're trying to sell a lamp, you're trying to sell a golf club, you're trying to sell an ashtray that's made out of glass and weighs over 5 pounds just in itself. Those are the kind of things that are going to affect. And I think maybe Whatnot just doesn't want us to sell that kind of stuff on here. Maybe they're on purpose saying, well, we don't want this to be the place to sell a bunch of big, heavy stuff. We want this to be the place to sell the small collectible stuff and let the heavy stuff be on eBay. I don't know. That's not what they said, but that's the feeling I get. I wonder how we will have to set up shipping and advise, because I always did max, but now I'm really trying to understand how this works. See, we don't know. And all multiple packages, that's a good idea. All the dimensions to worry about now are determining standard size boxes to get for items that can't go poly. Actually, no. When you go over 5 pounds, the dimensions of the package count, even in a poly. It's flat rate up to 5 pounds, right? It's from 1 to 5 pounds. It's $7.20, no matter the size of the package, as long as it's not over 12 by 12 by 12, no matter the zones, all that. But when you get over 5 pounds, unless you split it up into multiple 1 to 5 pound packages, if you have one package that's 9 pounds, it is going to matter, even in a poly mailer, what's the length, the width, the height, the weight, and how far it's going. All of that comes into play on any package over 5 pounds, even ground advantage. And priority is going to be even higher. I don't even want to talk about that, because that's not going to be an option for me. The plant community is going to suffer big time. Plants need to be delivered within 3 days max. Yeah, and I've heard that priority is not really getting there in priority anyway. I don't know if that's true or not. Also, new sellers who are less than 1,000 are going to take even longer to get their money because you're not getting paid until your item reaches your customer, and then they release the funds. And so if it takes an extra day or two, it's going to take that much longer to get your money. So you said, I'm sorry, 1 to 5 pounds is max shipping of what for Ground Advantage? So 1 to 5 pounds. Okay, so 1 to 5 pound packages coming up for the changes, right? Come August when everything changes. 1 to 5 pound packages on Whatnot are going Ground Advantage, and you don't have to put in the dimensions, and it doesn't matter how far. It will be $7.20 whether it's going to next town over or whether it's going all the way to California. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's a 12 by 12 by 12 box or a 6 by 9 by 1 poly mailer. It does not matter. And so it would be easier to do multiple. If somebody ordered 12 pounds worth of product, it would be easier. I'm not saying cheaper necessarily, but it'd be easier for me to pack that in 3 poly mailers or padded mailers or whatever, 3 packages, 4, and 4, right? Ex math teacher here. Because then I wouldn't have to worry about the dimensions, the zoning, all that stuff. It'd be 720, 720, 720. But if I decided that I just wanted it to be in one package, 1 box, let's say, or 1 big poly mailer, 12-pound poly mailer, they're going to want to know the length, the width, the height, all 3 dimensions. They're going to want to know the zone, how far away it's going, and they're going to want to know how much it weighs. And then they're going to come up with a total, which may or may not be $21 and whatever. It may be more or less than $21.60, depending on how far it's going. But you will have to put in the dimensions and you will have to put in the weight, and then they will determine it based on how far it's going. If you split it up and do it in the 5-pound packages, then you won't have to worry about that stuff. I'm not saying it's going to be cheaper. I'm saying it might be more convenient. The question is that none of us can answer is Whatnot going to do that for us with their smart bundling, or is Whatnot just going to keep on loading it up and let you load up to a 12-pound package? I don't know. I doubt it, but I could be totally wrong. I think if you have items that are less than 5 pounds, it's going to roll over to another package every 5 pounds because that's what they're wanting. If that's what they're wanting us to do and they're encouraging us to do it with our custom shipping, why would they not do that as well with their smart bundling? So I'm not saying that's what they said. I'm not saying that's anybody has told me that. I'm saying that's my prediction based on what they're kind of pushing on us. But there's no way for us to know that until we try it, because we've asked them. They won't tell us. Put in the dimensions and weight. That shipping from Texas to Florida cost $9.06 with Ground Advantage. Customer paid $5.99 on Etsy, and I pay the rest. Okay. So, right. But that's different from what Whatnot is going to charge, right? Unless Etsy's also using commercial zoning amounts or whatever. Does Etsy use the same commercial zoning amount or the commercial table that Whatnot is going to use? I don't know. I don't sell on Etsy. I have before, but it's been so long, I don't know if they use the same. My last purchase on Whatnot went South Carolina to Mississippi to Dallas to San Antonio to Portland, Oregon. It is a little crazy. There's some, like, I sell to somebody that lives 1 state over, and half of her packages just take a little tour around the United States before they get to her. So yeah, that's kind of always been the case with, who knows what the logistics are of that. They use Pitney Bowes, Whatnot uses Shippo. Okay. They both have similar negotiated rates. USPS is not going to be much different. So yeah, they've only negotiated the rates of the 1 to 5 pounds. They haven't negotiated anything with the over 5. According to Whatnot, anything over 5 pounds is going to go on the commercial shipping rates that they have published on the USPS website per Whatnot. All I can tell you is that's what Whatnot is saying. So I don't know how that compares to Etsy. The 1 to 5 pound pricing is special negotiated price with Whatnot. So that's not going to be on any postal service thing. But once you get past 5 pounds, that's when they're going to go to that commercial rate. But that's what I'm trying to say is there's no way for us to know if Whatnot's even going to allow that to happen with their smart bundling. Unless, I think the only way you're going to go to that chart is if one item weighs more than 5 pounds. That's my guess, but I could be totally wrong. And the only way we're going to know is to do it. The only way to know is to try it without manipulating. You have to have a baseline to figure out. If you want to know what you can do, you got to know what your options are. And so I have to know what Whatnot is going to do at a baseline without me manipulating anything on the shipping settings first. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a few shows with not a whole lot, maybe an hour or so. I'm going to have all kinds of different items with different weights. I'm going to put in the weights to the best of my ability. I'm not going to do any custom. I might do a custom shipping profile, but I'm not going to max it out at a certain number, because once you max bundle, then they start separating. So I'm just going to, put in the weights the best that I can. I'm going to do a max shipping of 720. If my people happen to buy more than that, and I do actually need to have a little bit longer show, because I need some people to buy more than 5 pounds of stuff to see what happens. Because if nobody buys more than 5 pounds of items, I don't know how they're going to bundle it for me. I need to know what's going to happen when one person's order equals more than 5 pounds. How is Whatnot going to bundle that? And I'm going to be watching a lot of other people's shows. I'm going to be watching a lot of shipping chats on YouTube and on here to see what is going on. Then I have my idea of how I'm going to use shipping adjustments. So yeah, I'm not stressing about it. I'm an overthinker, and I've got to find the perfect way to do it. So I'm not stressed. I know there's a lot of options, and I cannot come up with the answer yet because I don't have all the information. So yeah, it's not really stressing me. I think about it a lot, but it's more of like a challenge. It's like, let me figure out how to, like, I want to be able to get back to the closest thing to what I'm doing right now as possible. I want Whatnot to pay my adjustments for me and figure out a way that I don't have to go over 5 a week. And if I can do that, then I'm home free and I don't have to worry. So maybe I won't have to do anything but set up the exact weights, do 720 max shipping. But I feel like if I do that, Whatnot's going to automatically unbundle to every 5 pounds. And then every package over 5 pounds, I'm going to pay. There's not going to be any adjusting because they've already done it. They've already unbundled. So there's no adjusting on a second, package. They've already charged me. I'm trying to make it to where I can go over and unbundle myself like we do with flat rate, and they're not going to charge me. They're going to charge me an adjustment. That's where you have to work a little bit of magic. And I have the idea, but I don't know if it's going to work because I have to know how they're going to unbundle. So a lot of us are going to miss the flat rate. I'm going to miss the free packaging. I'm not telling you to do this, but I am telling you that what I'm going to do, I'm ordering from Poshmark right now. But Poshmark only lets you order 100 pieces at a time, and then you cannot order again until you receive your item. So a week to 10 days later. So you can basically order 100 packages every 10 days or so, right? So basically you can order up to maybe 300 packages a month. That's going to help me a lot, but it's probably not going to be enough. And so I'm going to have to supplement. And so, awesome, Fabric and Treasures. Have a good one. I'm going to keep doing that until Poshmark either limits my account from buying and says you can only buy the same number of packages that you've sold on our account. If they do that, okay. Right now they don't do that. And so if they're not going to limit how many packages I can order, how many free supplies I can order from them, I have an active account on Poshmark. So I just order just like I'm allowed to. I order 100 packages. They won't let you order 100 bubble mailers. They'll let you order 50 bubble mailers and however many of the others. So I ordered like a few boxes, a few small boxes, a few medium boxes. some bubble mailers. So now all I'm doing now is doing 50 bubble mailers and 50 poly mailers every time. And they don't say Poshmark on them. So if they are not marked as Poshmark, they are marked as USPS Ground Advantage package. That is totally legal for you to use to ship packages from Whatnot. If they want to stop me, they're going to have to limit how many I can order from Poshmark. So, and Poshmark is just using their free commercial account. They're just diverting their packages to us anyway. They're not paying for it. The Postal Service is paying for it, and they're providing it so that we can use that package to pay shipping to ship through their service. So the post office is getting the money right back through the shipping that we use with them. So nothing really changes for 5 pounds or less. You're right, except for the price. It's going down by $2. So whereas it was 1 to 5 pounds was flat rate, was priority, flat rate or priority, right? Now it's not going to be priority. So the only thing that's changing from 1 to 5 pounds is instead of priority, it's going to Ground Advantage, and instead of $9.21, it's going to $7.20. So it's saving $2.01 per package, and it's going from priority to ground. And for 80 to 90% of my orders, that's going to cover it. That's great. My customers are going to be happy, and it's not going to affect those orders at all. So, you can't use priority. Yeah, you cannot use priority. You can use priority boxes, not from 1 to 5 pounds, but you can use them over 5 pounds if you use priority shipping, but it's going to cost a lot more. So I don't think anybody's going to. I mean, priority is still an option over 5 pounds, but you have to choose it and you have to pay extra for it. And it's going to cost so much extra, nobody's going to want to do that. Like some people who have really breakable items that, it's not going to apply for fabric. Do you know what I mean? There might be some people who have like a Louis Vuitton bag, and they want the extra, they want to put extra insurance on it, and they want the priority packaging, and they want, whatever, and they'll pay extra. It's available, but for us, we're not going to choose that because it's going to be so expensive. It's not going to be $9.21, and it wasn't $9.21 for priority over 5 pounds anyway. It was something else. The only time you got $9.21 over 5 pounds right now is if you use flat rate. So when do they let us set up our settings? It's going to set up for you automatically sometime after August 1st. I think what's going to happen is they're going to roll it out in waves. That's what they've always done in the past. I could be wrong. It might happen at 12:01 for everybody. I don't know. But they just said no earlier than August 1st. So I think some people are going to see it, and then some more people are going to see it, and they're just going to automatically default your settings to Ground Advantage. And then if you want to change it after that, you can. Here's my biggest question. Let's say I have a show on July 31st. This is what I would not do. Don't have a show on July 31st where you have priority shipping, flat rate shipping available to you, and then not ship it until August 1st, and then something stupid happens and you don't have the option. That would be what I would be afraid of. So like if you have a show on July 31st, you better ship it on July 31st, because if you wake up on August 1st and you haven't shipped it yet, you go to try to make your shipping labels, that it might not be available to you. So you might have and I don't know how that's going to affect you. It probably would only affect you if you have a bunch of flat rates. Do you know what I mean? But I don't know how that's going to work. I haven't asked them. That's probably a good question to ask. So for that reason, if I do have a show on the 31st, I'm a little scared to. I will make sure it's not like a super huge show, and I will be prepared to cut, pack, and ship that same day so that I don't have to worry on August 1st what's going to happen. And if August 1st comes and I still have, for some reason, if they're coming in waves and I'm still one of those people that uses priority, I'd be really afraid too. I was like, what if you have a show and then it switches on you mid-show? I don't know. That's only going to be a problem for one time. But if you have big shows, I mean, it could matter. So just be careful, I guess, on that. Maybe Bubba's Fine says they'll have a grace period. I think maybe either that or that's why they're putting that money on our ledger. So that if something stupid like that happens, they'll be like, we'll just take it out of your ledger. We gave you a little credit. So I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work. So here, if y'all want to know my brainstorm, and I'm not telling you to do this. I'm not telling you it's advised to do this. I'm telling you what I am considering doing after I find out what Whatnot's going to do with the bundling. This is some advanced shit right here. So if you don't know anything about shipping, you probably should not listen, because it's going to be like whoo, right over your head. But if you are a seller who's done shipping for quite some time and you're pretty, you're pretty versed in how it works, this is my plan. And I don't even know if it's going to work, but I'm probably going to try it at least once to see. So remember I said about how we can override. Right now we can override the smart bundling by doing flat rate, right? Because basically when you do flat rate, it's putting everything into a package until you reach 70 pounds. So I was trying to think, how could I do that without having Whatnot automatically flip over the packaging over every 5 pounds? That's why I want to know first if they're going to do that automatically every 5 pounds. Because if they do flip over to a new package every 5 pounds, I definitely want to implement this strategy that I'm going to do. So if that's what's going to happen, I want to override that. And I asked them about it, and they're like, no, there's no way to override. You don't know what you're talking about. I was like, okay, cool. So here's what I'm thinking. Let's say let's just say yardage. Let's just use yardage for one, just because it could be anything, but I'm just going to use yardage and say it's 5 ounces per yard. So I will create a custom profile, and I will just call it like fabric pieces. That way I can do any pieces that I want to. I will set the first piece to be 8 ounces. That's going to cover any piece that somebody buys plus the packaging. So the first piece is 8 ounces. Every piece after that will be 1 ounce. Right? So then, let's do some math. Because you get 80, right? Before you reach your 5 pound max. So if I said that every piece of fabric that I put in a package, the first piece is 8 ounces. And every piece after that weighs 1 ounce, right? So I have 80 ounces max. That's 5 pounds. And I might not even do, 5 pounds. Okay, done. And then I subtract the first 8 for the first piece. That's 72. So that means I have 72 more ounces, aka 72 more pieces that I could add into the box. That Whatnot will not smart bundle, like Whatnot is going to bundle it all together into one package up to 72 pieces, because it thinks it's going to be a 5 pound package, and it's going to charge that person $7.20 for up to 73 pieces. Does that make sense? So the customer has only been charged $7.20 for the first 73 pieces of fabric. You and I both know that's way more than 5 pounds, right? So, and it might not be 1 ounce. It might be 2 ounces. I don't know. I haven't done all the math, but after the fact, it's going to say, here's your person's one box that we charge them $7.20. And I weigh that package, and let's say they've ordered 70. Let's say they've ordered 70 yards, right? Nobody orders 70 yards, but that's like the max, right? So let's say they actually ordered 70 yards of fabric, which is about 5 ounces. 70 times 5, 350 divided by 16. That's 21 pounds. 22 pounds almost, right? So 21 pounds is 4 to 5 packages, right? And so, like I said, nobody's ordering 70 yards of fabric for me most of the time. It's more like 30. But I'm trying to do extremes, right? So if somebody were to order 70 yards of fabric from me, Whatnot charge them $7.20. But I need to make 20 pounds of package out of that. So I need to unbundle. I need to manually unbundle. Let's unbundle this package. Let's make 4 or 5 or however many I need to 5 pound packages, right? Let's say it's 5. Let's make 5 5-pound packages out of that. The seller bought the first one and was charged $7.20. Adjustment, 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 adjustment. 4 adjustments that Whatnot paid for. And that person bought 70 items, 70 yards of fabric from me, which is however much, the $400 worth of product. I didn't pay a dime of the shipping. They paid $720 max, which is what I had advertised, $720 max, and I got to use 4 of my adjustments from Whatnot for their package. Does that make sense? And I just pack it in the little bundle. They get 4 packages from me, or 5 packages from me. And I've used 4 of my adjustments for the week, and I only have 1 left, but I still haven't paid out of pocket, not a single bit. They are going to allow 5 adjustments. That part I've asked them, are we still getting 5 adjustments? Yes. What counts as an adjustment? Well, adjustments are for when your weight doesn't match whatever. Okay. Well, how much? Well, it's just for the best of the customer. Like, they don't answer that. But right now, approximately, our adjustments are about every 5 pounds. So I'm assuming it's going to be every 5 pounds. This is a lot of assumptions on me. I'm not telling you to do it. I'm telling you that I'm trying it. But I'm not going to try it from the very first show. I'm going to first see how Whatnot is going to unbundle itself. So however Whatnot decides to unbundle itself, if it's going to unbundle every 5 pounds automatically, I got to find a way to turn that off. Because if I can't use my adjustments if it's already unbundling for me every package. Because if it already unbundles for me, it's charging $720 every time it starts over on a new package. And so the customer pays this one, and if I have max shipping at $720, I'm paying this one, I'm paying this one, I'm paying this one, and I'm paying this one. I don't even get to use my adjustments because it's already unbundled for me. I need Whatnot to think it's one package and not unbundle it, because it's thinking it's 5 pounds. It's thinking it's 4 pounds and 9 ounces or whatever. And it hasn't even unbundled yet. I need to make it, stay like this so that I can do it like this and I can use my adjustments like this. Does that make sense? And that's not hardly, like, nobody's buying 70 yards of fabric from me, but some people will buy 20. And we have already said about 15 makes up a one package. So if they buy 20 from me and I do that little manipulating, then Whatnot thinks it's, 19 plus 8, 27 ounces. And it's only charged them $7.20. But now I need 2 packages. The first 15 yards goes in the first package that they're getting $7.20 for. And I unbundle myself and I put the other 5 in here. And now it's going to use an adjustment for the other $5 or whatever. But I can't use the adjustments if I don't override the smart bundling that Whatnot's going to do. So I don't know how to override the smart bundling until I know what the smart bundling is. Does that make sense? We did it before with flat rate. Since we don't have flat rate, now we got to do it with custom shipping profiles. Yep. We're all going to have to try several ways to make the shipping work. Exactly. Are there restrictions on dimensions and weights of polymail bags? Yes, it's the same as the box. It doesn't matter if it's a box or a polymailer. It's still going to be, the restrictions are on the list. It's like, I don't know all the numbers on the top of my head, but it's like, somebody said 12 by 12 by 12 for cubic dimensions, but then they also said one single dimension can't be over 22 inches. The length plus the girth can't be more than 103 inches or something like that, which is length plus double the width plus double the height. So that applies to polymailers or bags. Doesn't matter. You have a polymailer, you can measure a polymailer. It's a big giant puff ball, but you can do length, width, height, even if it's not a box. So the dimensions are still going to come into play. Only after 5 pounds though. If it's less than 5 pounds, it's just a flat $7.20. I think the 12 by 12 by 12 might still be a issue with dimensions, but like, you'd have to have a lot of puffy light things to fit something that's larger than 12 by 12 by 12 and it still be over 5 pounds. I mean, under 5 pounds. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe yarn or like polyfill. But for fabric, once you get to 5 pounds, you're going to be way under 12 by 12 by 12 for 5 pounds. So you don't have to worry about it. That's going to come into play for like really large, heavy items for like home deck people and sports equipment and stuff like that. I sent my question about buy it now during a show to your messages because I had to type too many characters. Oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely. All this info is so helpful. So, Karen, I know it's like I'm kind of just talking out of my, you know what. Um, a lot of this is speculation, but I'm just trying to share with you what is going through my head. And like I said, this is not me stressing out like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm going to do. It's not that. It's like, all these changes. How can I make it work the best for me and my customers? How can I keep my customers from having to pay any more shipping than they have to without me having to pay a whole lot of extra shipping where I didn't have to pay for it in the past? So this is not a stressor. This is just a me like smoke coming out of my ears, me thinking about what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? If I knew all the information available to me, I would already have a system down and ready to go, like on day one. But because Whatnot doesn't reveal some of their smart bundling algorithm, they won't tell us all the details like, well, once we reach this number, then we unbundle to such and such and so and so. They won't tell us that. They won't tell us that now or later. They'll just be like, we choose the best options for your customer. Based on what? Because when we were using smart bundling, it was not. The way they told me to do it was not the best way to do it. Because I'm like, well, shit, I could have put that in. I could have put all this stuff into a flat rate box and got it for way less than what they just charged. And so that wasn't very smart. So, and like I said, when you've been living in the flat rate world for so long, you're not really like, you don't even have a feel for the smart bundling and how it kind of works. Even if they don't tell you exactly the numbers, you start getting a feel for like, yeah, if you did it all the time, you would sort of get a feel. Even if you couldn't give exact numbers, you'd be like, this is probably like Whatnot's probably going to unbundle this into like 3 packages. This one's probably going to unbundle into 2, and that one over there is probably going to unbundle into 4. Like how Whatnot's going to do it. And even if you can't give a specific number, you just start to, you know what I mean? Like you just start to, over time, you start to know kind of what to expect. And you might guess wrong sometimes, but for the most part, you start to see what size pile gets unbundled into how many packages. Since me as a fabric seller hasn't been living in the smart bundling arena, I don't know, because I haven't let Whatnot unbundle for me since like the first month that I was selling, and that was 2 years ago. And when they did it, it sucked. They did a horrible job at it. I was like, this is dumb. Why did they separate this and that? Because they don't know the dimensions of the item, and so they're, you know what I'm saying. So, and I quickly got away from that and went to flat rate pretty quick into my journey here, and I've been in the flat rate world for the rest of the time. You can return your flat rate boxes to the post office if it's like a larger post office. And if you have a really small one, like if you're out in the country and you have like a really tiny one, ask first. They might take yours back, or they might tell you to go to the next bigger city. I asked mine and she was like, "Oh, I don't know. Let me ask." And so she went and asked, and her postmaster or her boss, her supervisor said, "Yeah, go ahead and send them back, whatever you have extra." But I have heard some people that are in some smaller areas that have said, no, we cannot take all that stuff back. Please go to the larger city the next larger city over and take them back over there. So just ask if you're not sure. Just depends on the size and if they're equipped to take it back or not. But we're in a pretty small place, and our mail lady said, yes, she would take them back. So, because I just ordered, like at the beginning of this month, I ordered 500 large flat rate boxes because I was going to do fill a box for all my heavy stuff. And I have done several, but I haven't done as many as I thought I was going to because it's not going very well. It's a lot of time, and it's a very, very, very small amount of money. And I'm like, probably could just fill a 5-pound bag on the new shipping for even more money. So I'm probably going to use like 100 of them, and I'm going to send the other 400 back to the post office when I get done. You ordered a bunch of flat rate and priority. Now you can't use them. Well, you can use them until the end of July, another couple weeks. And then whatever you don't use at the end, you can take them back. And, or donate them. I've seen them. I've seen Goodwill stores try to sell them. But yeah, I just take them back to your post office. And I'm sad about the no more flat rate tape. Tape is we use a lot of tape. I think we're going to spend more money on tape than we are on poly mailers. So I don't know. We'll see. We shall see. All right. Any other questions? That I have talked for 2 hours about shipping. The 2 local post office never have boxes in the lobby. Maybe I'll be a box fairy and stock some. There you go. Somebody's going to be happy. Yep. And we were like holding on to those Tyveks like our lives depended on it. I was like, the Tyveks have gone away because they stopped making Tyveks a couple months ago. And I've been squirreling them away from like all the different post office lobbies that I could find and holding on to them, like only using them when I had to. And now I'm like, so much for that. I don't have to worry about that. So I'm using them whenever I want to. And when it's done, I'll just give them back, I guess. Why not send out some type of instruction soon? Instruction on what, Helen? On shipping? It's an important topic right now. I'll listen all day if I have to. Yeah, Whatnot is yeah, I think I'm just going to be honest. I don't think they're going to give us any other information than they've already given. I think everything they've told us is all they're going to tell us. And the rest of it is, here you go. Have fun. Because do y'all remember when you were first selling? If you're a new seller, it's fresh in your mind, but if you're an established seller, do you remember when you first started and like you ask all these questions, like, what about this? And what about that? And what about this? And people are like, don't worry about it. Just get in there. And they gave you just enough to get started, but like you didn't know all the ins and outs. Whatnot does not tell us all the ins and outs, even of the flat rate shipping. We have told each other. We have taught each other based on learning from doing our own shows. And like I learned on my own that I could like unbundle into a whole nother flat rate box for one shipping adjustment. They don't have that listed anywhere on their Whatnot shipping things now. They won't tell you that. Even the chat, when I asked the guy in the chat, he was like, I don't know. I was like, well, I'm telling you that it is because that's the way I've been doing it for this whole time. He's like, I don't know about that. I'm like, well, I know about that because I do it all the time. So it's not. So what I'm trying to say is that like all the little tiny details that we've picked up that we just kind of know about that how it works, it's not all published somewhere on Whatnot. It's just the general guidelines are published on Whatnot, and we have learned all the little details ourselves and helped each other and figured it out and watched each other's seller chats on, especially sellers that sell the same thing that you do. Like I can give you some information if you're a clothing seller or a card seller or a vintage seller, or whatever. But I can give you the best, most specific advice if you're a quilting cotton fabric seller, because that's 99%, 95% what I do. So if you sell vintage collectibles, you need to go watch House of Coop and ask questions about how they are going to do their shipping, because they are experts in that, and they're going to find out all the little details about how it works, and then they can share it with other people. Watch YouTube videos, watch other seller chats, but all these little details that we already know about now that we've discovered on our own, they're not published on Whatnot. And so we're expecting them to publish all the stuff, the new, like, well, what about this? What about over 5 pounds? What about what about the exact? And they're like, refer to this chart and have fun. They're like, all they're telling us is that flat rate's going away. Ground Advantage is going to take its place. You need to figure out how to get your own shipping supplies, because they're not going to provide it as of right now. Maybe in the future, but not right now. Shipping adjustments haven't changed, and anything over 5 pounds is going to be according to the commercial postage rates that are posted on the Postal Service. That is all they've told us. The rest we got to figure out on our own. And I don't think they're going to give us any other information aside from that. I think the rest we are going to find out as we go. Just like in the very beginning, when we kind of knew a little, and we had to fill in all the little details ourselves. I don't think so either, OCD. She says, I don't think they even really know how it's going to work. I don't think they do either, because when I ask them about how shipping works now, I'm like, okay, here's how it works now. Can you tell me how that is going to translate into the new? And they're like, we don't, they'll say, I don't understand your question. Like they don't even barely know how it works now. So how are they going to know how it works in the future when they haven't even done it? We're talking to people who probably never shipped an item on Whatnot ever. And so if it's not published, like if it's not published on their information list, which is not now, how are they supposed to know exactly the ins and outs of how it works unless they're also a seller on Whatnot in the objects that we, in the categories that we teach, right? We got rated. J Keith 317. Let's look at their profile. I hope you had a wonderful show. Sells vintage patterns, quilting and apparel, fabric, notions, and various craft items. Pet and glitter friendly home, but I try not to include these bonus items. Please be kind. Awesome. And her next show is today at 5 p.m. Eastern. It is a cotton fabric sale. Thank you so much. We are not selling anything, J. Keith. We're doing a seller information chat. So welcome in, Raiders. But if you're here to buy, then I would encourage you to go to, let me pull up a list. Bougie Bee. Go to Bougie Bee. She's doing a show right now. She's fantastic. So if you're here to buy, go to Bougie Bee and visit her. Tell her that Cheap Girls sent you. But if you're a seller, and we're sitting here talking about sellers and shipping changes and all that stuff, I don't want to hold on to the boxes that long, but the places that do the gift boxes for soldiers overseas could use them. Yes, absolutely. And that's how I get my free shipping. My free tape is with the military boxes. That option's going to go away too. So anyway, does anybody have any other questions that are non-shipping? Because I know I've talked about shipping a lot, but it is like top of mind awareness right now. Like it's the thing that everybody's talking about because it's what we all want to know. It's questions for both new sellers and for established sellers. And does anybody have any other ideas of how they plan to do their shipping changes, especially if you're fabric? Like, are you thinking about doing max shipping? And if so, how much? Are you thinking about doing free shipping? And if so, why? And are you not sure? My son is in the military, so I may keep a few and send things to him. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. It's not like flat rate is going away. It's just going away on Whatnot. Okay, somebody asked. Timber Hill Sew Shop. Yes. How do you buy now in a show without doing a flash sale? I tried it and only let me do auction or flash sale. Okay. So to do a buy it now, you just list it as a buy it now and you assign it to the show. So, and then if you want them to buy it on the screen, you just pin it. Okay. So let me show you. I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to turn the camera around and I'm going to show you on my phone how I do it. Okay. Okay, so we're on the Seller Hub, right? You go here to Seller Hub, and then you go up to the little three dots, and you go to Inventory, right? And then let's go to Inactive. So I've got all these things that are inactive. They're not assigned anywhere, right? So let's just say we're going to do something that's not a flash sale. All this is flash sale. This is what I had yesterday at my Christmas flash sale. Let's find something that's okay. So here we go. We have a piece of quilting cotton half yard that doesn't say flash sale. So you do all the things. Okay. This is already made, but you're making the listing, right? And it's a buy it now. It's not an auction. So you got the picture, you got the title, you got the description, you got the condition, you got the quantity. All right. And then you got the shipping. You go to the next. You got your price. You don't hit flash sale. Okay. So I'm not doing flash sale, but I am going to put on this where it says reserve for live. I'm going to toggle that on and I'm going to assign it to like whatever show you're going to have it at, and you're going to hit apply and publish. So now it is assigned to the show. Let me assign it to this show so then I can show you how it shows up. How about that? Let's assign it to this show and then I can show you how it comes up on actually this show. Okay, so I've assigned it to this show. It's probably going to not let me show up. It's not going to let me show it on the computer. So let's look at it on the computer. It timed out on me. All right, so let's look at it on the computer. right? Oh, we don't want to look at the ledger. So I'm going to the show that I'm on. There's probably only one item anyway. So here are your items over here on the show. I'm going to go to buy it now because I assigned it to this show. And there it is. And so if I want somebody to be able to buy it right on the screen, they can go into my shop. Like y'all can go into the shop right now and buy that. Don't do it because there's only one item and you don't want to pay the shipping on that. But like, and I don't even know if I have it in stock. But if you want them to buy it right on the screen, you can hit product actions and go over here and pin it. And now, did you see on your screen? And now it's on your screen. Like, look at the bottom of your screen. It says quilting cotton half yard 17H, and there are two. Don't swipe unless you really want to buy it, but I don't really want y'all to buy just one piece because you're going to pay like $4 to ship it. But now, technically, if I wanted to sell that, anybody on there could just swipe to the right and buy that half yard right there on the screen. That's a buy it now without being on flash sale. And it will stay up there until it either sells out or until I go back over here and I unpin it. And now it disappears. So I hope that makes sense. And that's what we do. So when you pin, there's no timer. That is correct. When there's a flash sale, you pin it and it shows up and you hit flash sale timer and it just goes for however long you have it set up. Whatever time you set it up for. It can be like, I think the smallest is 5 or 10 seconds and it go all the way up to 2 hours. If you just want to pin it and have somebody buy it, I just pin my stuff and put it right on the screen and they can just go shoot and buy it, shoot and buy it, shoot and buy it at the listed price. And I just put it up there. And if people buy it, I keep it up there. If the buying slows down or if it never starts to begin with, like nobody buys it after 10 or 15 seconds, then I just unpin it and I put the next one up and I pin that. You just got to make sure to, when you're doing that, you got to be real careful. When you swap the item on the screen and you don't unpin and repin the new one, I have to be in this habit. I've done this a few times and made a mistake. Like it'll be pinned and then I'll go and I'll take that one off and I'll put the next one on there and I forgot to unpin it. So when this one shows up, the old one is still pinned and I didn't get a chance to like unpin it and repin, and somebody swipes thinking that they're buying what's on the camera. And what they're really buying is that old piece that I just took off that I didn't unpin. So if you're doing different items, make sure to unpin so it disappears and then repin the new item, instead of letting them overlap, because otherwise what they swipe is going to be what's pinned on the screen, not what is showing on the camera. And I've forgotten to do that sometimes. And then they bought the wrong thing. Is there a way to add all your products to the show at the same time? Yes, there is. Let me show you that too. You can do it on your computer as well, but let's say I want to add a whole bunch of the items to my show. Right? Let's say I just want to add a whole bunch. You go up here to manage and you see how you got these little, anything that you want to add to the show, boop, boop, boop. You just check the box and then feature in the show. And then you hit sell or, whatever show you want it to, and then apply. And it adds all those items to the show. And now it says it's in this show today at 1:00, today at 1:00. Now you can see what show it has been assigned to, and you can assign it to more than one show. Just know this. This was another thing that kind of bit me in the butt. Once you add it to a show, it might not show up in your shop, but it will show up when somebody goes to the show. Let's say you add it to a show that's next week. Somebody could go to that show that's scheduled for next week, even if it's not live. They can go click on the show. They can click on the shop. They can buy that item and check out. And you'll have this order sitting there and you might not see it because it's in your marketplace if you're not looking for it. So if you add it to like all these different shows, I used to just do it to all the shows in the whole week. And people would go to like 3 shows down the road and see something they want and they bought it. And I didn't realize they bought it. And you're supposed to cut it, or you're supposed to pack it and ship it within 2 days. You might be okay with this, but just know that this is an option that can happen. And I didn't see the order and I didn't even know. And so I would go in and go to prep for the next show. And I'm like, I've got this pink right here, but it's saying sold out. It's because maybe like there's 3 yards of this. Like, let's say somebody went 3 shows down the road and they bought all 3 yards of this. and they're expecting me to ship it, but I didn't see it because it's in the marketplace. And I look at it, I'm like, I still have 3 yards of this. Okay. And I go in and I update the inventory because I'm fixing to have a show today. And I update that I have these 3 yards and I sell these 3 yards in the show. Well, technically, it's already been bought by somebody else that went to another show and bought it, but I missed it. And now I've sold it to 2 people. This happened to me a couple times and I could not figure out what was happening. I was like, why do I keep overselling these pieces? Why do I keep, because I update my inventory before every show. I do a lot of, if you're doing buy it now, it's a lot of work. I'm just saying. But so just know that when you assign it to a show, it can be purchased if it's not a flash sale. Now, flash sales cannot be purchased until you hit the button. But if it's buy it now, even if you don't have it, if you have it assigned to a show, somebody can go, if you have it assigned to a show for next month, they can go into that next month's show. I don't know why they would, but people are doing it and they can buy it within the show. You might not care. You might be like, that's awesome. If they want to buy it from wherever, whenever, great. Just know that you got to keep an eye out on your marketplace so that if people buy the stuff, you're ready to sit, to pack it and ship it. And then they don't get the combined shipping during the live show, all that kind of stuff. Last week, you said you don't keep your buy it now items available when you're not doing shows. Is that because you might miss the order in the market? Yes. That's the second reason. Yeah. Because I don't want people just buying whenever. And then I wake up and I don't want to have to keep checking my marketplace all the time. If it was clothes or like something I could just take down and pack it and ship it, I would be cool. But I pre-sell, I sell stuff by the yard, by the half yard. And so like I would have, this would be a quantity of 6, right? And so if somebody comes in and buys 4, that's 2 yards. I have to take this, I have to go cut it. I have to cut 2 yards off and fold it and put it together and do their order and then ship it out, which is not a problem, except for I'm not set up to cut and ship 24 hours a day. I pay somebody to cut and ship my orders after the live show. So she and my husband actually sit, it's my stepdaughter, so it's his daughter. So my stepdaughter and my husband, right after the show ends, take all the orders from the show and they cut, fold, pack, ship. So I don't want just willy-nilly orders coming in whenever and saying, oh, can you go cut 2 yards of this and pack it up and ship it, when she's in the middle of doing something else. So we do things, we bundle our, activities. But if it was just like, this is a piece and they bought it, okay, I'll just pack it and ship it. But since we cut to order, this is a specific problem just to me or to people who have to prep. But if I was selling clothes or something, I just pull the like it's like an eBay shop. Just pull it down, pack it, and ship it. Perfect. But I choose not to do that because number one, I don't want to be on call for cutting and packing all the time. But number two, the combined shipping thing that we're doing, all these shipping settings that we want to offer to our people, they don't get that when they're buying stuff that's not in a live show. So they don't get the opportunity to like do the max shipping. Now, is that my problem? I mean, if they want to buy it anyway and they want to pay extra shipping and don't care about combining, they just want to buy it because they need it. I've considered having my shop open all the time. I'm going to worry about the shipping settings first. And then after that all happens and we've got our basement like all really finished and set up to where I can access everything all the time, I might have my shop open all the time for people to buy. Or I might just have non-cut things available. Like if I have quilt kits, notions, scrap bags, half yard cuts, yard cuts. But then I've got to list every single piece. And I really don't, those are things that I do as random pulls and auctions. And I don't really want to list every single piece like that. So I might just do high dollar items like quilt kits. If you want to buy $100 quilt kit from me, I'll put it up in the shop and you want to pay $7.20, to ship it. I'll throw that in a package, ship it on its way to you. I don't care when it is. So you just have to decide for yourself how is the best way to offer things up. We've also considered just offering solids all the time. But again, we would have to cut that to order. But we've thought about just having like a whole rainbow of solids always available, no matter what, instead of just only during the shows. And so those are just individual questions to have, like, for me. Those are not like general, this is what you should do or what you shouldn't. That's the beauty of Whatnot, is that you can decide how to run your shows however you want to do it. You can decide to pre-cut your items and sell them like that. You can decide to post-cut your items and sell them like that. If you don't sell fabric, you don't have to worry about cutting it ever. That's one thing that the people who don't sell fabric have going for them, is that they just sell it, pack it, ship it. We have to cut. Like every show that we have, we'll have a 3-hour show. It takes about 3 hours to cut it after that, and then another hour to pack it. So it's not just like when the show is over, we just pack it up. We got to cut every piece. Sometimes we have 300 pieces to cut because we cut to order, like a quilt shop. Somebody who's selling clothes, they just have a bunch of clothes. They just put them in the right package, and then they weigh it, pack it, and ship it, and they're done. People in the vintage category, well, they might not have to cut things, but it takes a long time for them to ship because they have to pack everything really nice, and then they have to tape it all up and put bubble mailers and do it in the packaging. It takes a long time. My daughter does oddities and curiosities, and she's the Velvet Collective GA. She does bones and just all kinds of stuff, jewelry, pictures. It really could be anything, chicken feet or whatever. Her packing for her show is a big thing because she has to figure out how to put things together and make sure nothing breaks. So hers might not be cutting, but hers is packing. She's like, packing is a bitch because she's got to make sure nothing breaks, and she's got to have a lot of packing material, all the things, right? You were just typing that exact same thing. Yeah. So every different category has their own set of challenges and their own bottlenecks for what slows them down, what slows their process down. When I first started selling, I didn't do flash sales. They didn't even have flash sales. Flash sales was a new thing. They didn't have that option when I first started. And so it was kind of like, well, do we offer 1 yard, 2 yard pieces, 3 yard pieces? I would spend 2 days pre-cutting all of them. I'd get a bolt of fabric and I'd cut 15 yards off of it, and then try to sell 1 yard at a time. And people are like, do you have 3 yards? And I'm like, I have 3 1-yard cuts. And they're like, no, I need a whole piece. Well, then, so it was like we had to figure out those challenges. But I used to just sell everything pre-cut on auction only, and it would take me like 2 to 3 days to pre-cut everything, fold it up, put it all together, and I'd do them like rounds. I'm like, round 1, round 2, and we do 4 to 5 to 6 hour shows. But when it was done, pack, ship, because it was already cut. And then I started doing flash sales, and I was like, this is great. I don't have to pre-cut anything. But now we have to post-cut, and it still takes a long time. So what do I plan to do when the flat rates are gone? I'm going to wing it. So I have to find out how Whatnot, and we've talked about this a little while ago, but I just have to find out how Whatnot's going to bundle. And I have to try to figure out a way to override their bundling so that I can use adjustments. And I will tell you, my very first show, this is what I'm going to do on my very first show with the new shipping settings. I'm going to have custom shipping profiles set up like I already do for fat quarters, half yards, and yards. I already have that. Fat quarters set up is like 3 ounces, I think, 3 or 4 ounces, because I have to account for the packaging. Half yards are set up at 5 ounces, I think. I don't know. I have to look. And yards are set up at 6 ounces or 7 ounces, something like that, just to account for packaging. But I'll have to rethink that. I might go a little bit down on the packaging, on the weights, because I don't want to pad it too much, because then I'll end up having to pay too much out of pocket. But anyway, the point is, on my very first show, I'm going to have everything weighed as best as I can. And I'm going to set $7.20 max shipping. And I'm going to let Whatnot decide how to bundle the packages and just see what it does. I don't think that's going to be how I end. I don't think that's going to be my final, but I'm setting a baseline of expectations. And so I cannot manipulate anything myself until I know what Whatnot's trying to do on its own. And then I can figure out, well, it's going to do this, so I got to stop it from doing this, and I got to keep it from doing this, and I got to override it from doing this. I don't know what to override until I know what it's going to do, and they won't tell us what they're going to do. So on my first few shows, I'm just going to do $7.20 max shipping, and I'm going to eat the cost, anything over that, until I figure out. And then my job, like I said, is not My job is not to pass down the extra shipping to the customers. My job is to figure out how to save the most shipping on my end and still encourage them to buy as much as they want to buy for a flat rate. $7.20, that's all you pay. And so if they go over 5 pounds, well, more power to them. So Kimthy, have you heard that specifically from Whatnot? Because I talked to the customer service this past week on the chat, not the chat bot, but a real person. Okay, so that's rumors. So I wouldn't. I talked to customer service on the chat, a real person this week, and they said specifically, adjustments are not changing. They are staying the same. 5 adjustments. Now, they wouldn't tell me what counts as an adjustment because right now I use flat rate boxes as adjustments. And I asked them about that, and they were like, we don't know what you're talking about. But straight from Whatnot, as of right now, we still get adjustments. But I have a feeling I don't hardly use many adjustments because I let flat rate basically absorb the extra myself. So I only use maybe 5 adjustments a month. I have a feeling with this new way, they think there's going to be less adjustments happening. Well, for me, there's probably going to be more. And so if we use a whole lot more, they're probably going to be like, okay, no more adjustments or whatever. I wish they wouldn't do a number of adjustments. I wish they would just put something on our ledger and be like, okay, if you like put it on a sliding scale, say if you sell, $1 to $100, you get $5 worth of adjustments or whatever. If you sell, and the more you sell, the more adjustments you get in dollar amount. And so if you have an adjustment, they'll be like, okay, but this is going to come out of your adjustment ledger and it's $14 and you've got 20 available or something. Wouldn't that be easier? And then you could just decide how to do it. They don't have to give us adjustments at all. But if they're going to, I wish they would, instead of doing it by number, they would do it by dollar amount. And then they could say, you get more adjustment money, by how much you sell. And then maybe that could be another perk for the Premier. Premier sellers get more adjustment money or whatever. And they might go away altogether. They might be like, this is costing us too much money. No more adjustments. Y'all figure it out and do it right. But if you don't hear it directly from Whatnot, don't make assumptions, because as of this week, according per Whatnot, directly from them, adjustments are not going away. They will not. In capital letters, they told me in the chat, adjustments remain the same, no changes, which is really a lie because, there's flat rate. But anyway, I only use an adjustment if the order won't fit in one large flat rate. Exactly, Kimthy. That's what I was using it for too. I was using a whole flat rate box for an adjustment. That's $9.21. So that's a lot. They're basically offering almost $50 worth of adjustments to us every week. I wasn't using them all, but if I was using them all, that'd be $47 or whatever, $46 in adjustments every week. I'm kind of surprised that since they're doing all these shipment changes, that they're not saying, yeah, adjustments are going away and we're going to do this. But they haven't. Maybe they thought they were already going to piss us off with all the changes. Maybe they didn't want to rock the boat too much. And they may take them away in the future. Who knows? But as of right now, they are not. But who knows how long that's going to stay, But if you don't hear it directly from Whatnot, don't believe it, because people can say whatever. There's charts out there on Facebook that says, oh, over 5 pounds, it's going to be $10 and something. Like, where are you hearing that? Well, we conglomerated it from ChatGPT, from from the shipping charts. Nope, that's not from Whatnot. So if it's not from Whatnot, don't believe it, because people can make it whatever they want and say whatever they want. And as soon as people start hearing it, especially if it's something they want to hear, they start spreading it around and saying stuff. So get it directly from Whatnot, or don't believe it. But the things that I've told you about, that came directly from Whatnot. And there are things that I'm predicting, but I'm telling you that that's just a prediction. And I could be completely wrong about that. And all I can do is see. August is going to be fun. That's all I can say about that. The Painted Willow just raided into us. Heather, the Painted Willow. Hold on. Let's look at her. Where's her profile? Hold on. Oh, her next oh, you don't have any shows. Oh, you must have just had your first show. View profile. Hold on, let's see. Yeah, did you just have your first show? Thank you so much for rating. That's awesome. So here's your homework, the Painted Willow. Go make yourself a profile. Tell us a little bit about yourself so that when you rate into somebody, we can pull it up. We can learn about you and follow you, and then make sure that you always have another show scheduled so that we can bookmark it. And if you end up pushing your show, that's fine. But always have one scheduled so that we can. That way you can get the most out of a raid. But we sure do appreciate you being in here. We're just doing a seller chat right now. We're not buying anything. Just mostly talking about shipping. But any other questions? Non-shipping questions? Because shipping gets a little, like, I have lost sleep about shipping. And people are like, it's okay. Don't stress about it. It's fine. You're getting all worked up. I'm like, I'm really not getting worked up. I'm more just like, this is a total mental challenge for me. So it's more of like a game on, let's see what we can do type of a thing. There's some things I don't like, but I'm not scared or worried. I'm disappointed in some of the things, and the challenge for me is to figure out how to mitigate those. But I'm not stressed about it. I'm thinking about it a lot because it affects my business a lot. And but I'm just trying to figure it out. And I know everybody's trying to figure it out, and I want to help other people figure it out. And so if the new people can't figure it out because they don't, they're learning too, right? So the new people are looking to the seasoned people and be like, what are you going to do? And we're like, I don't know. What are you going to do? And they're like, I don't know. What is she going to do? So the people who've been doing it for the longest, who know the ins and outs of shipping the most, we are going to be the ones that um, are probably going to figure it out the fastest. And that's not a brag. That's just like, we know about how shipping used to be, and we know how shipping is supposed to be and all that thing. And so we know what all the shipping options, well, most of them are. And also, I have shows every day almost. So I have 8 shows a week, 10 shows a week. I have a lot of chances to practice in a week's time. So within 2 weeks, I should have my shipping like down pat. And then as soon as I figure out what's working for me, I'm going to share it. And you don't have to use it, but I can at least tell you this is not working and this is working and this is what's happening and this is what's happening. And please don't do this because it's going to cost you a lot of money or whatever. And some people are just going to sit back and be like, I'm not sure. So I'm just going to wait and see what these other people do. And then when I find out what they do, and I know it's going to be okay, like, where's the safe area? Because we're like all over the place trying to figure out where the safe zones are. Once we figure out where the safe zones are, we can share those with you. Okay, this is where this is the safest place for you to live. I think the safest place for you to live is probably going to be 1 to 5 pounds, but I don't know for sure. You're going to do max shipping and see how it goes. Beth Ann, what's your max shipping going to be? I thought about keeping it $9.21 just to say nothing has changed on your end. It's $9.21 before and it's $9.21 now. But since they already know that $7.20 is, the max, I think I'm just going to go $7.20 and be like, guess what? Max shipping is cheaper. This is so awesome for all of you. And so they don't get intimidated and be like, I don't know what's going to happen with the new shipping, but everybody's talking about it. It's making me nervous, and I don't think I want to try to buy a whole lot of stuff. I don't want that. I want my customers to be like, oh, cool, cheaper max shipping. That's awesome. I'm coming in to buy a bunch of stuff. So yeah, that's that. The over 5 pounds is a little bit of a challenge, and we can't figure it out until we start doing it. Thanks for answering questions with so much patience. A new person comes in with a question you already answered and treat it like it's the first time you got that question. Well, people are coming in and out all the time. So, and I know if you're watching this on YouTube, you're like, oh my God, she answered that question 3 times already. But, but I do know that not everybody comes for the whole show, and they're always popping in and out. So, and by the way, if you missed any of this, it is going to be on YouTube. It's probably on YouTube right now. But you can go to Cheap Girl Fabrics and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you don't see it, it's because it's on the live tab. You got to go to the tab that says lives or live. And that's where these are going to live. And so sometimes it's not on, like, I wish they would put that on the homepage, but you got to go around and search. Draz is another person for you to look. She has a YouTube channel too. And she does these same kind of things. She's much more, she's not as emotional as I am about it. She sticks to the facts, she's very factual and, like a lot more even keel. she's a wealth of information. She knows a lot, and she has some connections with whatnot too, because she's like a ambassador or a liaison or something. I don't know the exact word, but she's another very good resource. And so she also does these lives, and she also puts them on whatnot, DRAZ. And so she's got a wealth of information too, but she doesn't know any more than we do. And I don't think she's decided what she's going to do either. When the ones that I've watched of hers, she has said she's thought about doing free shipping. I hope she doesn't. I hope nobody does free shipping, to be honest, because that's going to set a precedence. That's going to set a bar that we're going to all feel like we have to do free shipping like Amazon. And then we're going to have to raise all of our prices to eat the costs. And then the people who don't raise their prices because they want to be more competitive, they're going to lower their prices so that they can be more competitive. And then they're going to lose their business because they're not going to make any profit. And they're not going to realize it for 6 months or whatever. It's just not, we are not Amazon. So I think free shipping is just not the way to go. But again, I can't tell anybody what to do. So I'm sure there'll be some people who are like, I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to do free shipping and see how it goes. But if you start with free shipping, it's going to be a lot harder to change from free shipping up to $7.20 or $9.20 or $10 or buyer pays all shipping. Once you start at the bottom, it's like when you teach. They always told us, don't be too nice in the beginning because it's harder to rein it in and be like more strict. And if you come in real strict, then you can loosen it up later on, right? So if you start with free shipping, and then you decide that that's not working for you, then your customers are going to be like, what happened to free shipping? And they're going to be pissed. But if you end up doing free, like maybe free shipping is the way to go. I don't know. But wouldn't it be better to charge shipping in the beginning and then realize, you know what? I could do free shipping and do such and such. And then be like, guess what, guys? Starting next month, free shipping. But if you start with free shipping and you don't have any idea where you're going to go after that, it's going to be really hard to explain to your customers why you offered them free shipping for 3 months. And then sorry guys, now I got to charge $7.20. And they're like, what? And you're like, yeah, but I lost my ass for the past 3 months. I haven't made a dime of profit because I've been paying for all of y'all shipping and it's not working for me. And they're like, oh, okay. So, it's easier to go down than it is to go up. So, and I really thought about doing $14.40 max shipping to begin with, but I feel like that is going up from the $9.21. And I don't want my customers to think this is going to be like an increase. And so I feel like $9.21 is an option. So that way they don't feel a thing. They're like, well, we've been paying $9.21 this whole time. So, okay. And if you did max shipping $9.21, to be honest, most people wouldn't go past $7.20 anyway. Before, when it was $9.21, they'd reach it when they got to 1 pound. Now, when it's $9.21, they won't reach it until they get to 5 pounds. So even if you had max $9.21, most of your customers won't even get there. They'll get to $7.20 and sit there forever. And so $9.21 might be like mentally a place to say, nothing to see here, guys. There's nothing. No, don't worry about it. No changes you don't have to worry about any changes. We will worry about the changes. So $9.21 might be a way to start. And I thought about doing that. And then once I figure out how everything works, I could be like, guess what, guys? I'm fixing to go down to $7.20. And that way they'll feel like I'm doing something even more special for them. Again, it's easier to go down than it is to go up. And so, so I could do $9.21 to begin with until I get it all figured out. And then I could go down to $7.20. I don't really want to go anywhere below $7.20 because when you're a large seller, that adds up. Even if I went, let's say I did $5, right? Well, as soon as they reach like 2 pounds, they're at $7.20, and I'm paying $2.20 for their shipping. And hey,
I thought you were packing out to come in to help.
Oh no, I'm still doing my show, but I will let you know. I'm probably going to wrap it up here pretty soon.
I'm done with my work. Let me know when you're ready.
Okay. Thank you. I love you too. He's ready to help me pack. He's ready to help me pack. We got 3 shows we got to pack. 1 to cut and pack, which happens tomorrow. 2 of them are already cut and ready to be packed. So we got to pack 2 shows today. But anyway, here's the way I see if I did like less than $7.20. It only takes them like 2 pounds to get to $7.20. And my average number of customers is 25 per show. So if I were to do like $5 shipping, that means I'm paying $2.20 per person. So I'm paying like $30 out of pocket per show. And I do 8 to 10 shows a week. So do I want to pay $300 a week out of pocket for shipping just so I can give my buyers a $2 discount? No. Plus, I don't want to give a $2 discount to somebody who bought 5 pieces from me. But I'll give a $2 discount to somebody who buys 20 pieces from me. So like reserve those if you're going to, I mean, and I get it. I get it. People are like, well, if I do less than the max, then that, that's enticing people to come in. I'm sure that it does. But the larger your shows get, the more orders that you sell, the more you're going to pay out of pocket. And that could be $1,000 or more out of my pocket every month in shipping that my customers would barely feel it to pay that extra little $2. I don't think it would keep them from buying from me for that extra $2, but I really don't want to come out of pocket $1,000 a month or more to do that. Does that make sense? So for me, it's I don't think it's going to be any less than $7.20, because that's just all those little $2, all those little $2 add up when you have lots and lots of orders, and that's not. I want to figure out how to let Whatnot do that with adjustments, and I want to wait and pay the extra money for the people to reward the people who've made larger purchases from me. And so, yeah, I would rather pay a little bit of shipping towards the person who spends $100 with me. I'm not necessarily trying to incentivize the person who's spending $12 from me. I love the $12 orders, but that doesn't really constitute a shipping discount. They're already getting coupons from me for the buyer rewards. So I'm keeping those too. And I may be able to figure out how to work the buyer rewards into some kind of shipping. I don't know yet. That's a topic for another day. So we might do that too. We're going to do a little bit experimenting with coupons. We're going to do some experimenting with buyer reward tiers, but we're not going to do that yet. We can, like, if you're doing experiments, you only want to manipulate one variable at a time, because if something works or doesn't work, you want to be able to know exactly which thing that you changed that works or doesn't work. If you change 3 things and it breaks, you don't know which one of those 3 things it was that broke it. So first we got to figure out the how Whatnot is going to bundle. Then we got to figure out, can we kind of mess with the weights and override the smart bundling so that we can use adjustments? And then are we going to keep the $9.21 or the $7.20 max shipping, or what we're going to do with that? Once we get that done, how can we use buyer rewards and coupons to reward the people who are buying even more? So wouldn't it be great if we could offer $7.20 max shipping to everybody, and maybe free shipping to people who buy more than $100 or $150 worth somehow with buyer rewards or coupons or something like that? That would be great. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but I'm thinking coupon for free shipping for my bigger buyers, but now I'm waiting to see what happens in August. Yeah, I'm thinking that too down the road. So the new buyer rewards program is going to start at the same time that the new shipping starts, which sucks. So I'm just going to keep the same buyer rewards as I had before. And then that'll be August, September, October. And then once November comes with the next buyer rewards, I'll have my shipping down pat, and I will have some new buyer reward tiers that will involve probably some way to get free shipping or something. I don't know exactly how. There's a whole new buyer's reward too, I think, or like new portions of it and interactions in chat. Yeah, it's separate from buyer rewards. It's called points. It's not the same thing as buyer rewards, but it is. And it's like gamifying. It's gamification. And not everybody has it. I don't think I have it yet. But it's a point system, and it's just like watch a show for a certain amount of time and you get like a special icon that you can put on the screen. It's just a way to gamify. I think it's a way for you to get coupons too later on, but I don't know exactly how it works yet because not everybody has it. I don't have it yet. So that's a whole nother thing. That one I think is just to try to get people to interact more. But it's separate from the buyer reward tiers. So we'll see if y'all have seen, you might have seen some shows already where it says like Gibby at the bottom. It has like a little cartoon and then it has some other cartoons at the top. Those are the new point systems. They've been doing them overseas for a while, and they just introduced them to a few people here. Um, when they introduce new stuff, they don't give it to everybody. They just roll it out small amounts at a time. So you'll start seeing those too. But I don't know if we can. I don't know if we can manipulate those or if that's just set up 100% by Whatnot. I don't know how that all works, but when I find out, I'll share it with you. All right. Well, my husband's ready to help me pack, and I got a lot of stuff to pack. You ready? Let's see. I've got. It's hard to see because I've got this stuff on top of it, but we had a Christmas raid train, so all of that, it has to be cut. Everything in this basket has to be cut. We sold this yesterday at the scrap raid train. Luckily, those are already ready to go. They're just bagged up. We need to pack those up from last night. And we usually pack and ship the next day, but since it's the weekend, it's a little different. And then we had a show Friday. Those pieces are already cut and packed and ready to go. We had a bundle show or a by the chunk show. So those are not this piece, not these, but these home deck. We had that. So that's going out. That's going to be packed tonight. The scraps are going to be packed tonight. All of those. And then this is going to be cut and packed tomorrow. And then this came in our last haul, fabric haul. Look at this. Alexander Henry. Is this popular? I know some Alexander is really high. Look, and it's 1.5 yards of it. This came out of one of our fabric hauls. And this one too. Halloween, Robert Kaufman, Halloween. Cat in the Hat skeleton. Yay. Anyway, this is the kind of stuff that when we bring in hauls, most of it's just average, ordinary stuff. And then every once in a while we come up with some bangers. So these 3 things came out of our last haul that we pulled in. Anyway, we're just, bragging about our fabric finds right now. All right, now we got some packing to do. Thank you guys for coming in. I wish I had better answers for you, but that's all I got for you. All I can do is tell you what I know, which is not a whole lot, what I plan to do with that information. And then when I get more information, I will share that with you. And I'm not stressed. I'm just thinking a lot and taking a lot of notes and making a lot of lists and asking a lot of questions. And my brain is working hard, but we'll get it figured out. It'll take a little bit of time. And if I was a new seller, I probably would be stressed either, because you're going to have to learn regardless. You're either going to have to learn this way. You're going to have to learn it the other way. You're going to have to learn it either way. Some people say it's going to be simpler the other way. I'm not really sure about that. I think it's going to be complicated either way. Whatnot shipping is pretty complicated. Once you get it figured out, it's not too bad, but it's probably the hardest shipping to learn out of all the selling platforms. And it would be nice if it was a little bit more streamlined. I think one day it will be, but that's way down the road. And I do feel sorry for the people who are doing the larger items, the random items, the, what do you call that? The estate sales and the garage sales and the storage units. If I was one of those people, I mean, like I said, maybe they're not worried because they're already not using flat rate anyway. So maybe it doesn't really matter. I don't know. I'm not one of them, so I don't have to worry for them. All right. That's going to be it, guys. Thank you so much. We're going to find somebody to raid into. So we're going to send cheap chicks over to somebody. And then my husband and I are going to pack up. And we're going to pack up these orders so that I can cash out some money so I can pay payroll tomorrow. All right, we're going to go see Bougie Bee. She is still going. She is fantastic. You're going to love her. I love her. She's always positive. She's funny. She's entertaining. She's high energy. She's a lot like me personality-wise, so I think you're going to enjoy her. All right, let's go over there, and we will see you guys I do not have any shows tomorrow. So, I might have a show tomorrow night. I might have an auction show tomorrow night, but for sure on Tuesday, 9 a.m. flash sales. So we'll see you guys then.